Chapter 12:16. Qiu Yu Xian's battle. Lin Feng's godly awareness was extremely powerful, and he had learnt how to use the godly awareness palace. That kind of strength was enigmatic. If his godly awareness hadn't been so strong, he would have died instantly. Bzz. Lin Feng moved back in his empty space bestial illusion technique, and he recalled his godly awareness palace to protect his third eye. If his godly awareness broke, he would die. Long Tongue was lying on the ground. Lin Feng's attack had still hit his body somewhat. He was soaked with blood, and his body was riddled with gaping wounds. He had almost died. Long Tongue lost. The crowd was astonished. They looked at Lin Feng, the winner. He had killed Xian Yuan. He had killed a Zoom cultivator from Tianlong Divine Castle. And now he had defeated Long Tongue. Nobody could prevent him from rising, including Long Tongue. What a beast, thought the crowd. If one of the strongest cultivators of the province had killed Long Tongue, they wouldn't have been that surprised. But because it was Lin Feng, they were besides themselves in amazement. Long Tongue had a dragon body, and had just broken through to the Zunqi layer. What about Lin Feng? He had just broken through to the 8th Tianqi layer. What if they had been of the same level? What if Lin Feng had been a Zoom cultivator as well? What it meant was there was a huge difference between Lin Feng and Long Tongue. Lin Feng would probably astonish the entire province a few years later. What about the great Oriental Greenfinch Rock? What about Kong Ming the Buddhist monk? What about Yi Run Lei from the Heavens of Desire's palace? Even though Long Tongue had lost, Lin Feng hadn't managed to kill him. It was as if he had been pushed away. Golden dragon claws appeared and moved towards Lin Feng. They were dazzling. Lin Feng raised his sword, but the dragon claws seemed alive. It passed next to Lin Feng, and quickly circled around towards his third eye. The dragon claws were so fast that the crowd couldn't even see them clearly. The crowd was surprised. That wasn't energy. If it had been energy, Lin Feng would have died already. That was godly awareness. Tianlong Divine Castle, those bastards, thought the crowd. They understood what was happening. That couldn't be Long Tongue's godly awareness. Long Tongue's cultivation level was slightly higher than Lin Feng's, but he couldn't compete in terms of godly awareness. That was thus the godly awareness of a strong cultivator from Tianlong Divine Castle. He was using his godly awareness to protect Long Tongue, and on top of that, he was trying to kill Lin Feng. His godly awareness was as fast as lightning. Lin Feng condensed sword energies in his hand and performed a hand knife strike to block it, but it didn't work. The godly awareness pierced through and moved towards his third eye. Lin Feng released his godly awareness palace again. He was petrified of the results. Explosions sounded. The crowd was astonished. Not only did Tianlong Divine Castle want to protect Tianlong, but they also wanted to kill him. Bzz, silhouettes flickered. When Tiantai's people saw what was going on, they came out and rose up in the air towards the summit of Qi Tianshan Mountain. The leader of the group was Wuxia, and he was releasing terrifying desolate energies. However, at the same time, the strong cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle also moved and rose up in the air. Wuxia took out a talisman, and he wanted to break it. He knew it was getting dangerous, but the problem was that the people he wanted to call were too far away. They'd have to hold out for them to arrive. I can't stand seeing this anymore. A Taoist monk moved towards Lin Feng. People were fighting on his sides, and the mountain was crumbling apart. The Taoist monk didn't stop the battle, however. He suddenly turned around and released fire energies to attack someone by surprise. That person's body was hit by the fire, and his organs exploded. He had tried to block the attack, but someone from Tiantai punched his head, and it exploded too. Good heavens! The Tiantai monk had the demeanor of a transcendent being, as if nothing had happened. Tiantai's Zoom cultivators looked surprised. Fu Hei's mouth twitched. He was evil himself, but that Taoist monk seemed even sleer than him sometimes. Xiongqi considered himself a great emperor, so those people were nothing for Hai. With that mindset, he didn't mind being cruel. Yi Run Lei smiled in a resplendent way. She was always smiling. Tianlong Divine Castle is doomed and Tiantai will rise. A terrifying group of influence is going to disappear, whispered Yi Run Lei. That battle had attracted people from everywhere. The fact that strong cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle had not only tried to help Long Tongue, but had also tried to kill Lin Feng proved that they didn't have many other geniuses. Otherwise, they wouldn't have resorted to such despicable means. Qiu Xian was on another peak watching, but as soon as she saw trouble, she threw herself towards Lin Feng. Many people were moving towards him, both wanting to kill and help him. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged, condensing his godly awareness in his consciousness. His godly awareness palace was protecting him from the dragon claw's godly awareness, which kept attacking him. His godly awareness palace seemed like it was going to break. However, Lin Feng managed to heal it back again and again. The Sky Palace, what's the date tonight? Lin Feng used his soul strength and his surplus souls technique to fix his godly awareness palace. He couldn't die now. Lin Feng secretly thanked Qiongqi in his head. He had taught him the godly awareness palace, so he had indirectly saved his life. The one who was attacking Lin Feng with his godly awareness was probably a medium or high-level Zun cultivator. Lin Feng's head kept shaking violently. He had the feeling he wouldn't be able to hold much longer. A terrifying strength emerged and moved towards Lin Feng. However, at that same moment, Qiu Xian arrived and blocked the attack. Die! Shouted that strong cultivator, throwing himself at Qiu Xian. That girl had just broken through to the Zun Qi layer and thought she could compete with him. She was insane. Qiu Xian punched the air in his direction and pale lights appeared, shining down on the Zun cultivator's body. He felt petrified, as if he was going to freeze. Qiu Xian's energies were piercingly cold. Ice-cold merciless energies. The Zun cultivator was surprised. He had broken through to the Zun Qi layer for 7-8 years already, and those energies were still quite powerful, enough so that he could barely move. His blood slowly stopped flowing. Then he saw a moon. That cold crescent moon descended from the sky and moved towards him. He dodged, but suddenly he was petrified. Blood slowly started trickling out of his third eye. One strike and he was dead. It seems like it was true. Qiu Xian must have a special body which was awakened when she was in Fortune City, thought the crowd. 2 geniuses had appeared in the northern part of Bahuang. Well, at least if Lin Feng didn't die, that is. Chapter 1217. By Qiu Luo at the top of the mountain, even more strong cultivators were appearing. The crowd in the surroundings were amazed by all those strong cultivators. Qiu Xian landed in front of Lin Feng and fought off a few Zun cultivators. At the same time, Qiu Xian also arrived and whispered, "Little girl, I'm going to attack the godly awareness that's killing Lin Feng. Help me by watching my back." Qiongqi then moved in front of Lin Feng and opened his third eye. A golden light moved into Lin Feng's godly awareness. The dragon godly awareness was bombarded Lin Feng's godly awareness palace even faster. But Lin Feng's godly awareness palace was still holding up. Along with the golden fire godly awareness, a voice rang in Lin Feng's head. "Little bastard, be thankful. If I hadn't taught you how to use the godly awareness palace, you'd be dead already. But those bastards from Tianlong Divine Castle also attacked you, how cruel," said Qiongqi as if he was in the mood to chat. The golden fire godly awareness then protected Lin Feng's godly awareness. It flew throughout Lin Feng's consciousness to protect every side of his godly awareness. "Who are you?" said a voice furiously. "I'm the Flame Emperor Yin Di," said Qiongqi. Boom boom! The dragon claws grabbed the golden fire godly awareness head-on. But Qiongqi's godly awareness was very resilient. "Now that you know my secret, do you think I will let you off? You're too optimistic," said Qiongqi arrogantly. A thread of godly awareness emerged. Qiongqi had to destroy the enemy's godly awareness, and then he would never know what had happened. "You're not from Tiantai, why attack? You'll die," said the owner of the godly awareness in a cold way. Qiongqi laughed coldly and said, "You're ridiculous. Just die." Boom! Terrifying flames burnt and a horrible shriek spread in their consciousness. Then Qiongqi said, "You dared confront me, you will die tragically for your sins." Bees is easy. The golden claw's godly awareness fell apart and turned to ashes. Qiongqi thought it was cruel that a Zun cultivator had helped Long Tongue and attacked Lin Feng. "But lucky for you I appeared. I'm such a peerless cultivator, I'm a hero, said Qiongqi satisfied. He didn't know that Qiu Xian was blocking 3 Zun cultivators at that moment. While Qiongqi was still fighting against that godly awareness, a silhouette landed at the top of the mountain. Many people noticed him, because that person was extremely famous. He was even more famous than Lin Feng or Long Teng. He was one of the 10 strongest cultivators of Bahuang province, by Qiu Luo. However, that person was neither from Tiantai nor from Tianlong Divine Castle, so what was he doing there? Was he going to take advantage of the situation? Fu Hei and Yi Renlei also looked at Bai Qiu Luo. They were also amongst the 10 strongest cultivators of Bahuang, so they were surprised to see him there. Bai Qiu Luo walked towards Long Teng slowly. Nobody prevented him from doing so either. Everybody was fighting and Long Teng was healing. Lin Feng had injured him and cursed him, so he was half dead already. A sword appeared in Bai Qiu Luo's hand. It was both sharp and dazzling. What is he doing? As if Long Teng had sensed something, he opened his eyes and saw that ice-cold-looking sword. Bai Qiu Luo, said Long Teng, smiling in a resplendent way. That smile was filled with murder. It looked hideous and evil. There are no tensions between the Sunset Pavilion and Tianlong Divine Castle. Do you want to cause tensions between our 2 groups? Shouted Long Teng furiously. Bai Qiu Luo raised his sword and pressed it against Long Teng's throat. Slash, blood splashed. Bai Qiu Luo smiled with a resplendent, yet strangely evil smile. Long Teng's head flew away and rolled on the ground. Bai Qiu Luo had beheaded him. Phew! The crowd was astonished. Long Teng from Tianlong Divine Castle, who had a celestial dragon body, had died in such a tragic way? Tianlong Divine Castle's people were just as surprised. They had protected Long Teng. They had even prevented Lin Feng from killing him, and now he was dead. Bai Qiu Luo took Long Teng's items, his round dragon shield and his ring. Then, he looked at Lin Feng and Qiongqi. Is Bai Qiu Luo going to kill Lin Feng as well? Thought the crowd. What was the Sunset Pavilion doing? Slash. Bai Qiu Luo took out his sword again. It streaked across the sky towards Lin Feng. As the crowd had expected, after killing Long Teng, Bai Qiu Luo wanted to kill Lin Feng. Was he insane? Was the Sunset Pavilion going insane? Empty space bestial illusion technique. Lin Feng uttered in a weakened voice. Suddenly, Qiongqi and Lin Feng were hidden away in the empty space illusion. Open space, said Bai Qiu Luo, raising his sword. The lights it diffused looked like the Milky Way, like a waterfall of stars. Strength condensed and cracks appeared in the empty space. The empty space soon disappeared, and Bai Qiu Luo continued moving towards Lin Feng, smiling in a resplendent way. Lin Feng suddenly remembered what the diviner had told Bai Qiu Luo. What he had meant by change, for Bai Qiu Luo was to kill people to have the advantage. After breaking the empty space, Bai Qiu Luo smiled and slowly walked towards Lin Feng. He then said in a cold manner, "Illusion." Then, Lin Feng realized that he had appeared in the same empty space as Bai Qiu Luo. The others had disappeared. Not even Qiongqi was there with them. Bai Qiu Luo wanted to kill anyone who could stand in his way in the future. Lin Feng was seated as before. Even though he hadn't died from the Zun cultivator's godly awareness, his godly awareness had been injured. He still felt dizzy and his head felt heavy. His soul was even shaking. "Die," said Bai Qiu Luo, raising his sword. Slash. Sword energies appeared, and at the same time, Bai Qiu Luo opened his third eye, releasing a small dazzling sword. He knew that Lin Feng's godly awareness was injured, so he wanted to weaken Lin Feng even more, or maybe kill him by finishing off his godly awareness. Lin Feng released his godly awareness palace again. Bai Qiu Luo condensed his godly awareness and his qi, causing Lin Feng's godly awareness palace to shake violently. At the same time, Bai Qiu Luo raised his hand, and his sharp sword turned golden. Chapter 12:18. Mercilessness. Bai Qiu Luo's sword was fast, and besides, Lin Feng was hallucinating. He had the feeling he was going to die if he stopped concentrating for even a second. It was enough to make him feel like giving up. Die! Lin Feng grinded his teeth and moved back. He took out his Tianji sword and dazzling thunders appeared, surrounding Bai Qiu Luo. He also released some desolate abstruse energies. Bzz. Bai Qiu Luo moved like the wind and gracefully. He dodged the Tianji sword and continued moving towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng noticed that the sword was less threatening when Bai Qiu Luo began running so fast. It collided against the Tianji sword, and Bai Qiu Luo had a cold, yet strange smile. He shook his hand and his sword moved again. This time it looked like a star. Lin Feng's soul shook. Bai Qiu Luo was getting even closer to him now. Assassin! Lin Feng felt like he was facing an assassin. Was Bai Qiu Luo from the Imperial Assassin Union? What was the Sunset Pavilion then? Was it the main branch of the Imperial Assassin Union? If that was the case, that was terrifying. If Bai Qiu Luo was working for the Imperial Assassin Union, and he continues to excel, will he become the future leader of the Sunset Pavilion? How would he lead them in the future then? Besides, if Bai Qiu Luo was an assassin working for the Imperial Assassin Union, were there other outstanding young people working for them? Or some strong Zun cultivators? The 7 assassins, remembered Lin Feng suddenly. In Fortune City, he had met the 7th assassin. That person was very strong. If Lin Feng was right, maybe then Bai Qiu Luo was one of the 7 assassins. Lin Feng was thinking about those things, but not too much, for he was still under attack. Everlasting Xana. Lin Feng suddenly disappeared and entered another empty space. Bai Qiu Luo's sword swung and hit nothing, because Lin Feng disappeared at the last moment. Back in Fortune City, Lin Feng had managed to take the robe in the empty space area, and it was called the Xana Empty Space Robe. However, even with the help of that robe, Lin Feng could only enter another space for a few seconds. It was efficient enough to desperately dodge attacks, but he would reappear quickly. However, when he reappeared, he immediately released Desolate Qi, and Bai Qiu Luo couldn't dodge. Die! Lin Feng uttered as loud as he could. He released empty space and desolate abstruse energies. However, Bai Qiu Luo's body became dazzling and golden. It looked like a dazzling golden armor had appeared with abstruse energies which kept changing. Slash! The golden armor crackled and Bai Qiu Luo was propelled backwards. His body had even started decaying. Freeze! Bai Qiu Luo put his hand on his wound and sealed it. He glanced at Lin Feng in a cold way. He still hadn't managed to kill Lin Feng. Boom boom. Finally the illusion broke. Bai Qiu Luo was again upset. It hadn't lasted long. He recalled his godly awareness and turned into an illusion. Then, Lin Feng saw many silhouettes appear, including Qiu Xian. Be careful, shouted Lin Feng. Qiu Xian was fighting against a Zun cultivator, and Bai Qiu Luo had thrown himself at her. Die! The Zun cultivator wanted to join hands with Bai Qiu Luo and attack Qiu Xian together. However, Qiu Xian didn't try to dodge. She jumped into their energies. Slash! Sword energies pierced through Qiu Xian's body as well as the strong cultivator in front of her. Bai Qiu Luo was surprised too. What was Qiu Xian doing? Even Bai Qiu Luo had sensed how terrifying those sword energies were. Qiu Xian turned around and took out the sword which had stabbed her, throwing it away. A moon appeared in the sky and shined upon her body. The path of mercilessness. Bai Qiu Luo moved back as fast as she could. The sword again moved towards Bai Qiu Luo. His body turned golden, but blood had appeared. At the same time, he sensed energies coming from behind him. Bzzz. Bai Qiu Luo rose up in the air as quickly as possible. However, the Tianji sword emitted whistling sounds and pierced through him. Thick earth shield. A shield appeared in front of Bai Qiu Luo, and 8 patterns appeared on it. It was a powerful defensive technique, making that shield look indestructible. The Tianji sword crashed into it, and the shield broke. Bai Qiu Luo was propelled backwards as he then shouted, "Go!" Many people rose up in the air and protected Bai Qiu Luo. Then their silhouettes flickered and they started leaving. Those people had attacked the people from Tiantai, who came to protect Lin Feng. Many people thought that those people were from Tianlong Divine Castle, but surprisingly, they were with Bai Qiu Luo. At the same time, at the top of the mountain, Yiren Lei was observing the scene with a complex expression. So many questions. Who were those people? If they were from the Sunset Pavilion, did they not mind offending Tiantai and Tianlong Divine Castle? Something's wrong. If the one who had attacked Lin Feng could have killed him, He would have just needed to block Tiantai's people, and Lin Feng would have died. Then he could have let Tiantai's people get involved and Long Tongue would have died too. They wouldn't have needed to get involved at all that way. And then a great conflict would have started between Tiantai and Tianlong Divine Castle. Thought Renlei. The Sunset Pavilion could have used two influential groups to do what they wanted, but that godly awareness hadn't killed Lin Feng. So why did Bai Qiu Luo attack personally? Of course, the Sunset Pavilion didn't need to fear anyone, because Tianlong Divine Castle and Tiantai were already enemies. They wouldn't ever join hands to fight them together. But still it made the Sunset Pavilion look bad. What had happened really? If she had seen what had happened in the illusion, she would have thought that the Imperial Assassin Union was involved. Tianlong Divine Castle and Tiantai didn't chase those people from the Sunset Pavilion. Tiantai's people were protecting Lin Feng, and Tianlong Divine Castle's people could attack him again at any time. Tianlong Divine Castle's people looked at Long Tongue's corpse. They let Long Tongue practice in the mysterious area of Tianlong Divine Castle, and now he was dead. The Zun cultivator who had helped Long Tongue was also dead. "Let's go," said the strong cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle. They didn't pay any attention to Long Tongue's corpse anymore. They had taken such great efforts for that one individual. And yet, Lin Feng was still alive. Lin Feng walked to Qiu Xian. He wanted to hug her, but Qiu Xian took a step back. She looked at him, as if she was looking at a stranger. "Xian, I have some holy water," said Lin Feng, taking out the tear stain from the source of life. "No thanks," said Qiu Xian indifferently. Her silhouette flickered and she left. She used her own pure qi to heal her wounds. Lin Feng was petrified. Qiu Xian had broken through to the Zun Qi layer and now, it seemed like she had changed. It was as if she was a new person, a stranger to him now. "Everybody, you can go back. I'll be fine," said Lin Feng. Even though he felt dizzy and was injured, he decided to follow Qiu Xian. He wanted to know why she had changed and was acting so strangely. Chapter 12:19. Chasing over a long distance very quickly, everybody left. Tiantai's people also left. They weren't worried about Lin Feng. Mu Chun and the others had anticipated this outcome, so they hadn't come personally. They actually had faith in their younger disciples. Tianlong Divine Castle, Tiantai, the Sunset Pavilion, the northern part of Bahuang, and the western part of Bahuang. Those places won't remain calm for long, thought Renlei. Then her silhouette flickered and she left. Tiantai had good reasons for being involved. High-level Zun cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle had attacked. And now, only the emperors hadn't shown themselves. A few days later, the news spread throughout the northern part of Bahuang and the western part of Bahuang. Everybody knew that Lin Feng had defeated Long Tongue, but that the strong cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle had plotted against Lin Feng and had tried to kill him in a shameless way. Everybody also knew that Bai Qiu Luo had been involved and had killed Long Tongue in the end. There were two incredible young cultivators that everybody was talking about, and they were in a desolate mountain at that moment. There were small villages, forests, deep and dark forests. Lin Feng had chased Qiu Xian for a few days already. Finally, she stopped, but she entered a cave and started healing herself. Lin Feng sat down cross-legged next to her and condensed his godly awareness. Back on that day, Lin Feng's godly awareness palace had been broken, and he hadn't felt well since. Golden threads spider-webbed throughout his consciousness, fixing his godly awareness palace. He fixed it according to what Qiong Qi had taught him, causing marks to appear. That wasn't something Lin Feng would stop studying. He had to improve that technique until his godly awareness palace became perfect. But Lin Feng wasn't in a hurry, because his attacks were powerful, and he could already resist Zun cultivators. Later that night, the moon shone upon Qiu Xian's body at the entrance of the cave. Threads of qi emerged from Qiu Xian's body. She was expelling the sword qi left in her body from Bai Qiu Luo's attack. At her level, she couldn't afford being injured so badly too often. Bai Qiu Luo's attack was so powerful that it had stuck to her body and started corroding it. If she hadn't frozen it, she would have died already. Lin Feng opened his eyes when he sensed those energies. The moon was still shining down on them. Qiu Xian stood up and looked at him. She looked confused. What happened? Asked Lin Feng walking towards her. Qiu Xian looked elsewhere. She didn't look at him. Eventually she said, nothing. Leave now. Qiu Xian then looked up at the moon. What happened? Why are you so cold to me? Insisted Lin Feng while walking closer to her. Is there anything going on between you and I? Asked Qiu Xian turning to Lin Feng. Then she continued. There's nothing between you and I. You have a wife and you have your own life. I am from the Qiu clan. So what do you want me to be for you? Your concubine or your sex slave? Lin Feng's body became cold when he heard her say that. Why did you help me in Qi Tian Shan if you were thinking that way? Asked Lin Feng. You fought against Long Tongue because of me. I am now walking on the path of mercilessness. So I want to put distance between us. I don't want to have any feelings for you. Therefore don't stay with me. Go. I don't want to see you ever again. Qiu Xian said in a cold way. Lin Feng looked at her and sighed. Please take good care of yourself. Then his sword appeared. He turned around and disappeared into the distance. Qiu Xian watched as Lin Feng left. Finally, tears appeared in her eyes. Her heart was shattered into 1,000 pieces. Why choose me? You're having feelings again. You forgot that he has a wife, and not only that, but he wants you to be his concubine or his sex slave. Go and look how he acts with his main wife. He's in love. You don't exist in his heart, said a ghost-like voice in the darkness. You're lying. I don't believe you. Why would he have come to the Qiu clan and killed all those people if he didn't love me? Why would he have challenged Long Tongue to a battle? Don't be stupid. If he loved you, he wouldn't have left because of a few words you said a moment ago. Is that so? No matter what you say, I'm telling you I won't give up. Even if he doesn't love me, I don't want to practice mercilessness cultivation anymore. I give up. Don't place any more hope in me, said Qiu Xian. You forgot that if you stop practicing mercilessness cultivation, I will use your hands to kill him. If I do that, it won't be me, it will be you. People will think that Qiu Xian killed him. That voice resonated in Qiu Xian's heart. She started shaking, as if she had thought about something. She didn't look cold, she looked hopeless and sad like a helpless girl. She sat down and put her head in her hands. Then she started crying. Why? Why had things become that way? Why was an evil voice following her? Why was she gradually becoming merciless and emotionless? I was wrong. If I hadn't been jealous when I saw you and your wife, I wouldn't have become like that, and I wouldn't have practiced such skills. Why? Why did you do that to me? Thought Qiu Xian while crying. Just let it go. Listen to me. You'll become a peerless cultivator. You'll become the strongest cultivator in Ba Huang, said that voice temptingly. Without emotions, what would it bring me to be the best cultivator in Ba Huang? Whispered Qiu Xian. No. At that moment, Qiu Xian quickly stood up. Her facial expression looked menacing. Who said that would be meaningless? If I become extremely strong, the strongest in Ba Huang, I'll be able to kill all his enemies. Right, I'll use mercilessness cultivation to kill all his enemies. Then, Qiu Xian's silhouette flickered as she rose up in the air, took out her boat out and left. 3 days later, in the western part of Ba Huang, people learnt that 12 people from Tianlong Divine Castle had been killed, but people weren't too surprised. However, 5 days later, people learnt that 3 other Zoom cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle had been killed. Even then, people figured that those people were probably weak. 10 days later, in the western part of Ba Huang, there was even more news. 68 people from Tianlong Divine Castle had been killed. People started wondering, who was killing them? Tiantai. 15 days later, in the western part of Ba Huang, more news again. This time it had nothing to do with Tianlong Divine Castle, but with another influential group. The Sunset Pavilion. Bai Qiu Luo had been chased by a girl and they had fought. The results of that battle were tragic. Bai Qiu Luo hadn't managed to kill the girl, but he had injured her. However, Bai Qiu Luo had lost an arm. One of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province had lost an arm, so everyone was astonished. Not long after, people continued talking about what was happening. The girl continued chasing by Qiu Luo, even though she was injured. She chased him unceasingly. She chased him from the western part of Ba Huang to the central part of Ba Huang. Why did that girl want to kill Bai Qiu Luo so badly? Chapter 12:20. Central part of Ba Huang. Once in the central part of Ba Huang, some people had appeared. On one side, there were many people, while on the other side, there was only one girl who was soaked in blood. "You Xian, go back," said a middle-aged man. They had been traveling for 7 days to finally stop her. Qiu Xian shook her head and said, "No, father, you go back. I'm not myself anymore. I'm not your daughter anymore." "What's wrong with you?" asked the middle-aged man furiously. Qiu Xian was acting like a stranger to him. "I'm practicing mercilessness cultivation, so I'm emotionless now. I want to put distance between myself and the clan," said Qiu Xian naturally. She sounded emotionless and aggressive. She was wondering if she would kill her own people if she continued practicing mercilessness cultivation. She was still scared to harm her loved ones, so she wanted to put distance between them. "We raised you and now you want to cut relations with us? After the support we gave you, you want to abandon us? How shameless," said Qiu Hao coldly. "Look at your daughter," said Qiu Hao to Qiu Xian's father furiously. Slash! Qiu Xian moved her hand and Qiu Hao sensed a coldness invade his body. He couldn't move anymore, he was petrified. A moon descended from the sky and turned into a cold moon-like sword. Qiu Hao was incredulous. His third eye started bleeding, he looked terrified. Bzzz. Qiu Xian's body turned into a beam of light as she ran away. Merciless Qi Rose lingered in the air after she left. They didn't chase her any further though. They turned around and looked at Qiu Hao. He slowly collapsed dead. Mercilessness. She didn't mind killing Qiu Hao anyway. Who was he to her? Back in the northern part of Ba Huang, Tiantai disciples were talking. They didn't want to leave Tiantai because of the tensions between western Ba Huang and the northern Ba Huang. 68 disciples from Tianlong Divine Castle had been killed. It had nothing to do with Tiantai, and only they knew that. After that incident, 2 disciples left Tiantai and then disappeared. Rumor had it that Tianlong Divine Castle had killed them. After that, Wuxia left alone and killed more than a dozen Zun cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle. People in the region were astonished. A real conflict had started between Tiantai and Tianlong Divine Castle. Whenever they saw each other, they would immediately kill each other. There were no longer any rules after what Tianlong Divine Castle had done. Tianlong Divine Castle will disappear if it continues going this way. We don't have as many disciples, but our 2 emperors and the direct disciples are peerless cultivators. They can kill the remaining cultivators easily. Not necessarily. Tianlong Divine Castle is resorting to sly methods. And each time Tianlong Divine Castle sends people, they're stronger than the previous ones. We should still be careful. Tianlong Divine Castle has a longer history than ours. But Emperor Tianlong is not as strong as our 2 teachers together. Hehe, don't forget Brother Tianqi, Brother Wuxia and Brother Lin Feng. They're all incredible geniuses. Lin Feng has been to the sky above the sky, and has become a direct disciple. Then he defeated Long Tongue and Qi Tianshan. Lin Feng defeated Long Tongue, a Zun cultivator, with the strength of the 8th Tianqi layer. Oh right. It's also said that Qiu Xian started practicing mercilessness cultivation because of Lin Feng, and that she chased Bai Qiu Luo over a huge distance. She even cut off one of his arms. Mercilessness cultivation is better than sexual desire cultivation. Lin Feng jumped out of the clouds. His hair was long, and he had a sword on his back. He gazed into the distance, in the direction of central Ba Huang. Even though you're merciless, why did you kill 68 imperial cultivation disciples from Tianlong Divine Castle? Why did you chase Bai Qiu Luo over such a long distance? Whispered Lin Feng. He recalled Qiu Xian's coldness on that night. Did she mean what she had told him? Nowadays, there are many groups of influence in the central part of Ba Huang. Only the brutal parts of Ba Huang can be mentioned in equal terms. You went to the central part of Ba Huang alone. So many people are going to cast their eyes on you. How will you kill Bai Qiu Luo in such conditions? whispered Lin Feng. He was upset. Maybe Bai Qiu Luo really was one of the 7 assassins. When Bai Qiu Luo had attacked Lin Feng in the illusion, nobody else had seen him. Even if Lin Feng said that Bai Qiu Luo was one of the assassins, nobody would believe him. Central part of Bahuang. Lin Feng jumped in the air and sat down on his sword, which then streaked across the sky. Many people in Tiantai raised their heads and looked at Lin Feng. They sighed. Where was he going this time? Many people from Tianlong Divine Castle wanted to kill him, and yet, Lin Feng was leaving alone. 7 days later, in central Bahuang, news that Qiu Xian had started practicing mercilessness cultivation spread. It was also said that she was still chasing Bai Qiu Luo, and had gone to Tiansu town, where Bai Qiu Luo would stop fleeing. She had chased him for so long, and now, only one of them would survive. After the news spread, many people went to Tiansu town, especially those from the 4 antique cities of central Bahuang. Many people were excited to see Qiu Xian and Bai Qiu Luo's battle. Ancient mercilessness skills could be counted on one's fingers. Many people were interested in those rare skills. Inside Tiansu town, silhouettes from the Qi clan were running, and Qi Tiansheng was leading the group. Qi Jiao was on his side. After Fortune City, Qi Jiao had been eliminated from the list of the 4 most beautiful women of the region, and Lin Feng's wife had replaced her. Some people still wanted to marry Qiu Xian. Then they would have access to her mercilessness skills. Chapter 1221. Assassination in the ancient town. Apart from the Qi clan, other people from the other 3 largest cities of central Bahuang had also arrived. Sikong Xiao was there. The expression in his eyes looked unfathomable and enigmatic. He was walking on the main road with quite a few people behind him. Sikong from the Sikong clan is here. I thought he usually acted alone. He must have changed. He's now surrounded by extremely strong Zun cultivators. Thought some people surprised. He's not the one who came. What do you mean? Is it because it's grandfather Wen's birthday? Said that person, shaking their head and smiling. Your views are too simplistic. That's only an excuse for them to go to the Wen clan. Have you forgotten that there was a teleportation portal at the Wen clan not that long ago? The other person was surprised after thinking about and asked. You're talking about the Tiansu ancient portal? Some people say that it can teleport people to Jiuyu. Apart from Sikong Xiao, Jin Wubei also arrived in Tiansu town. People from the magic world, Heavenly Palace, and the godly Xiao Yao sect also arrived. Strong cultivators from central Bahuang also arrived. The 4 ancient cities of central Bahuang had a very long history. Each town had their own teleportation portals. First there was Emperor Wu Tianjian in Sword City in Jiang'a. Later, Jiang'a had fallen, and the godly Xiao Yao sect came from abroad to invade their territory. They were the 2nd most influential group of the region at the time, but they still hadn't managed to wipe Jiang'a off the map. The godly Xiao Yao sect used to be one of the most terrifying influential groups in the Holy City, for Emperor Xiao Yao was a great emperor. Later, he had offended an extremely strong cultivator, and was forced to leave the Holy City. Afterwards, he traveled to central Bahuang, and established his sect there. It was a bit mysterious with how they lived in harmony with the other influential groups, while they only oppressed Jiang'a. He used to go to Tiansu town, using the Tiansu teleportation portal. It could teleport people anywhere in the continent, as long as they set the geographical coordinates properly. Recently, the teleportation portal had been used a lot. Nobody could keep it a secret when they used it. That teleportation portal more incredible than those found in below the Huang Sea. It could teleport people anywhere, and it didn't need much time to teleport them either. Many people wondered where the Wen clan was sending their people. The other thing which angered people was that Bai Qiu Luo had said he'd fight Qiu Xian in Tiansu town. However, the fight hadn't started still. People thought that Bai Qiu Luo was avoiding the battle. But Bai Qiu Luo didn't mind. It really seemed like he was hiding. Some people even thought that he'd said that on purpose. But instead, he actually left town already. It doesn't look like Sword City at all, but at least it appears simple. It contains lots of energies, and it seems perfect for practicing cultivation and studying abstruse energies," whispered Lin Feng while studying the energies of the city. "The One Clan is the most powerful clan in Tiansu town, because they know some deadly abstruse energies. Don't they use empty space energies?" thought Lin Feng. Wen Tiange was a genius from the One Clan. He was a real killer who understood speed abstruse energies. But did he also know empty space abstruse energies too? Besides, the One Clan was a very old clan in the town, like the Qi clan from eastern Bahuang and the Sikong clan from central Bahuang. Those kinds of clans were terrifying. "Sister May, guess what that cultivator's cultivation level is?" said a girl pointing at Lin Feng. "I don't know. It's almost as if he didn't practice cultivation. He gives people a strong impression that he's using the human-earth fusion though. Maybe he's at the top of the Tianqi layer," replied a beautiful girl. Lin Feng looked like an ordinary cultivator to most people, because he didn't show off any qi. But in Tiansu town, there weren't any ordinary people. "Maybe," said the other girl smiling. "We won't know for sure unless you go and ask him." When she finished talking, a terrifying qi invaded the area and moved towards the young man they were talking about. The young man immediately released empty space and sword energies. In a flash, blood splashed and a body fell to the ground. An assassin! Those people who were laughing and talking were instantly speechless. What a powerful sword attack! They didn't even have time to see what happened. He had unsheathed his sword, then the assassin died. Lin Feng remained calm afterward. He continued walking ahead, leaving the corpse behind him, as if nothing had ever happened. "Sister May, his attack had the power of the Zunqi layer. He's so young, and he has probably already broken through to the Zunqi layer. The strongest young cultivator from the family is far from being that strong. Don't you think?" said one of the girls. Lin Feng didn't pay attention to the people who were looking at him. Instead, he continued walking ahead on the main road. His steps were soft, and he didn't make any sounds. He released his godly awareness and separated it into many threads to scout the area. A dazzling sword light appeared. It wasn't Lin Feng's sword, but it was moving towards Lin Feng. The attacker was a young man who could easily kill a cultivator at the top of the Tianqi layer. However, Lin Feng wasn't an ordinary cultivator at the top of the Tianqi layer. Lin Feng sensed everything going around him with his godly awareness. Lin Feng raised his hand, just like he had done a moment before, and sword lights appeared. He moved like the wind, and then there were very subtle sounds. The attacker's sword energies were destroyed and blood dripped from his body as he fell down from the sky. "Was I right?" thought Lin Feng, smiling in a resplendent way. He continued walking forward, still inspecting the surroundings with his godly awareness. If Bai Qiu Luo was really an assassin from the Imperial Assassin Union, then it would explain a lot. It would mean that the Imperial Assassin Union had already started expanding in Tiansu town. For people like Lin Feng, that was bad news because Qiu Yuxian had come alone and was on a killing frenzy. Lin Feng continued walking, and he continued to kill 7 more people. Each time he killed someone, it attracted him even more attention. Those assassins were incredibly strong, but that young man had managed to kill them each time with only one sword strike. Another dazzling light appeared, but this time, it wasn't just one sword. There were 7 sword lights moving towards Lin Feng. "Empty space change," said Lin Feng. The space around him undulated, and then Lin Feng disappeared. Soon enough, he reappeared above those 7 people. The crowd saw dazzling lights containing thunderous energies as a destructive sword came out. 7 sword lights, 7 corpses. They hadn't even seen it coming as they fell down from the sky. As the crowd was amazed by Lin Feng's swordsmanship, another dazzling sword light appeared and was aimed at Lin Feng's throat. Abstruse strength, speed, abstruse energies. Chapter 12:22. Great battle against Zun cultivators in the cultivation world. Apart from physical strength, there were other factors which mattered, like reaction times, stealth, and speed. If a cultivator possessed all those things, he could appear even stronger than others at his level. In that same regard, those who had these skills could kill in one shot, and could be considered excellent assassins. Slash. The sword dug into Lin Feng's body. The crowd was astonished. Was he dead? There was no blood. Suddenly, they realized that the sword had actually pierced through nothing, just void. Lin Feng had disappeared to a different space. As Lin Feng reappeared, he used his Desolate Xana attack. The opponent had loosened their guard because he thought that he had just killed Lin Feng. But instead Lin Feng's sword now threatened his life. Blood splashed as Lin Feng beheaded the enemy. The strong assassin failed to kill Lin Feng again. That guy was a strong assassin of the Zunqi layer, and that young man still killed him, thought the crowd shivering. Lin Feng looked so calm, and he could teleport in a split second. Actually, Lin Feng wasn't as strong as the crowd was thinking. He was sweating and nervous too. If he hadn't had his empty space robe, even if he hadn't died, he would have been badly injured. Just how many of those assassins were there? Lin Feng continued dispersing his godly awareness in the surroundings. He was worried for Qiu Yuxian too. Maybe they had tried to kill her too. There was a large empty space in front of Lin Feng. Because of all those people he had killed, the crowd was making space for him. They didn't want to upset him, nor did they want to be caught up in any future sneak attacks. A dozen people were floating in the sky on both sides of the road. They quickly surrounded Lin Feng. They're all Zun cultivators, thought the crowd. More than a dozen cultivators, and their blood strength was incredible. Just who's that young man? How come so many assassins want to kill him? There are so many Zun cultivators now. It seems difficult to kill him, thought the crowd. That strong cultivator looked like he was only 20 years old. Even the 10 strongest cultivators of the province didn't attract so much attention. Lin Feng sensed all those energies. He remained calm as he whispered, Tianlong Divine Castle's people. A moment before, those who had tried to kill him were from the Imperial Assassin Union. But now the people blocking his way were from Tianlong Divine Castle. If Bai Qiu Luo organized all of this, he's even more terrifying than I thought Lin Feng. He hadn't even arrived in the city center of Tiansu town, and he was already being attacked. It was as if they had known that he would come. Lin Feng, you'll die today, said a strong cultivator coldly. The crowd in the distance finally understood. Lin Feng, that was Lin Feng. They had imagined him to be exactly that way, young, long, fair, clean clothes, an ancient sword on his back. I'm used to Tianlong Divine Castle's slyness. Come and fight, said Lin Feng in a deep voice. Then, he rose up in the air while releasing whistling energies. A terrifying sword chi reached up to heavens. The dozen Zun cultivators remained fearless. Alright, since you want to die, we'll help you achieve your goal. Dragon bite die, said the cultivator in a cold way. Dragons appeared in the sky, and their dragon chi was palpable. Then they moved towards Lin Feng. Desolate explosion. A sword light pierced through the dragon energies. Dazzling flames illuminated the sky, and a black destructive strength appeared. Arg! A dragon threw itself at Lin Feng. If it managed to grab Lin Feng, he would die. Slash! Lin Feng unsheathed his Tianji sword, and in a flash, the ferocious dragons roared in pain. The first Zun cultivator collapsed. First, he was stabbed by the sword, and then his body exploded when he was struck by lightning. Bzzz. The space shook as Lin Feng disappeared. The place where Lin Feng was standing a moment before exploded, and was now riddled with gaping wounds. Desolate Xana. Lin Feng's Tianji sword stabbed a Zun cultivator. At the same time, several more dragons attacked Lin Feng again. Go! A gigantic cauldron appeared, and the dragons fell into it. Ebullition sounds were quickly followed by horrible shrieks. Burn and die! Lin Feng attacked the dragons in his cauldron, and explosions sounded. The golden crow fire emerged. 2 Zun cultivators flew as fast as they could, but they were stuck in the golden crow fire, and gave horrible shrieks as they burned alive. Arg! A gigantic dragon descended from the sky and moved towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't even look at it as he said, so close yet so far. The dragon continued moving towards Lin Feng, but it couldn't get any closer. Break! Shouted the cultivator stuck in the so close yet so far empty space spell. While he was stuck, he was also being attacked by the empty space energies. Lin Feng raised his hand just as the cultivator escaped the spell, releasing thunderous sword energies which instantly struck that cultivator. 5 Zune cultivators have been killed. The crowd was amazed. Those Zune cultivators could destroy entire mountain ranges by simply punching them. However, Lin Feng had already killed 5 of them. Even though those Zune cultivators are not incredibly strong, they are Zune-level disciples from Tianlong Divine Castle after all. The strongest one has already broken through to the 3rd Zune Qi layer. But Lin Feng seemed to be killing them so easily, thought people in the crowd. The crowd observed the abstruse energies and realized there were a few types of abstruse energies. Some of them were already level 2. His sword seemed like it acted as a medium, allowing different abstruse energies to fuse together. Chapter 12:23. Merciless Moon. The Zune cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle were incredulous. 5 people died in such a short amount of time. Surprisingly, Lin Feng could teleport over short distances and unleash incredible attacks. Focus on his godly awareness, said the cultivator of the 3rd Zune Qi layer. He opened his 3rd eye, and a dragon bearing its fangs flew out. The other Zune cultivators also released their godly awareness as golden lights illuminated the area. Several golden dragons were throwing themselves at Lin Feng. Empty space bestial illusion technique. Lin Feng's eyes suddenly looked like those of a beast. His hair suddenly grew long as Shui Ling Long's celestial qi appeared. Lin Feng was now fusing empty space abstruse energies with his empty space bestial illusion technique, attempting to make the technique more substantial. Rumbling sounds appeared as the threads of dragon godly awareness crashed onto the empty space bestial illusion, but couldn't pierce through it. Lin Feng's silhouette flickered. He took out his sunset bow, and a dazzling arrow appeared. Lin Feng pulled back the string, condensed empty space, wind, desolate and thunder abstruse energies inside. Lin Feng shot 8 dazzling arrows all at once. The empty space bestial illusion collapsed just as he released them. "Come back!" shouted the Zune cultivators in unison, recalling their godly awareness. However, Lin Feng shot all 8 arrows at the same time. They had just broken the empty space illusion. How could they escape so quickly? Explosions sounded as the arrows landed in their 3rd eyes, destroying their godly awareness. Even the cultivator of the 3rd Zune Qi layer collapsed. Releasing godly awareness in a fight is dangerous. It left them open, and Lin Feng took advantage of that. Thought the crowd, keeping a mental note of it for the future. That bow is a high-level holy weapon, and those arrows contain several types of abstruse energies, right? Said someone sighing. How many types of abstruse energies did Lin Feng control? I sensed wind, empty space, thunder and some kind of destructive abstruse energies, so 4 I'd say. Any cultivator who understood 4 different types of abstruse energies could be considered a monster. Of course, those Zune cultivators from Tianlong Divine Castle had been a bit careless. They had tried using a new technique, and Lin Feng had surprised them. Lin Feng put away his Heavenly 9 Dragon Cauldron and Golden Crow Fire. Then he grabbed the loot from those Zune cultivators' bodies. If he had been in Shuiyu, those people could have destroyed the entire country. At the same time, people in Shuiyu couldn't possibly imagine what precious treasures those rings contained. I'll have to go back to Shuiyu and Tianqi sometime. Lin Feng was always worried about them. Lin Feng continued walking ahead and slowly disappeared from the crowd's field of vision. While walking inside the city center of Tiansu town, Lin Feng would glance around and listen to other people's conversations to see if he could hear about Qiuyu Xian. She was famous in Tiansu town already. Lin Feng moved faster, and after half an hour, he realized that a lot of people were gathering into the same place, as if something was going to happen. "Sir, where is everybody going?" asked Lin Feng to a Tian-level cultivator. How fast? Lin Feng had caught up with him so fast. The man hadn't even seen him coming. "A lot of people are hunting Qiuyu Xian. We're going to go watch," replied the man. Before he finished saying that, he sensed a strong wind brush against his body. Lin Feng had already disappeared. What a terrifying young man, thought the man surprised. Lin Feng moved towards the place where everybody was gathering. In the distance, he saw what looked like a perilous situation. There was a beautiful and extremely strong girl, fighting several strong cultivators at once. There were corpses everywhere, and they were all Zoom cultivators. I wouldn't have thought that such a monstrous cultivator would appear in the Chiu clan from northern Bahuang. Her mercilessness abstruse energies are terrifying. Lin Feng noticed that there were still a dozen strong cultivators in the sky. They were all Zoom cultivators, without exception, and they had all surrounded Chiu Xian. Chiu Xian was soaked in blood, but she looked expressionless, merciless. Bestial moon! At that moment, dazzling lights appeared above. After Chiu Xian fused her blood and spirit together, her spirit was leaps and bounds ahead of what it used to be. Sharp bestial moon, said Chiu Xian. The moons which had appeared turned into sharp discs and moved towards those strong cultivators. Horrible shrieks sounded as cultivators of the first Zunqi layer instantly died. Those of the second Zunqi layer couldn't stand it either. Slash! Above Chiu Xian, a dazzling sword light appeared. The Imperial Assassin Union. Lin Feng's face turned rigid. Those who weren't already dead also threw themselves at Chiu Xian. Lin Feng rose up in the air and raised his bow. He immediately shot arrows at them to block their assault. The crowd watched as Chiu Xian release another bestial moon. The sword lights which were aimed at her crashed into her moon and stopped. It seemed like they were freezing. Moon assassin, said Chiu Xian. This time her moon broke apart, and the pieces found their own targets. Blood quickly ensued. The others continued throwing themselves at Chiu Xian, but at the same time, Lin Feng shot his arrows. They instantly changed their path and attacked the arrows, but they couldn't stand it as they were propelled backwards. While they were busy blocking the arrows, a merciless moon appeared again. What an incredible fighting strategy! No wonder Bai Qiu Luo couldn't compete with her, thought the crowd amazed. Lin Feng was just as surprised. What a terrifying spirit! It perfectly matched such a beautiful woman. How had Chiu Xian become so strong though? It was an incredible change, as if she had suddenly become enlightened. Besides, if Bai Qiu Luo had planned all this, Lin Feng was worried that this was just the start. Bai Qiu Luo seemed to know too many influential people. 2 cultivators of the third Zunqi layer had already appeared, and a few medium-level Zun cultivators. Besides, Tianlong Divine Castle knew where Lin Feng was. Weren't they going to dispatch even more stronger cultivators? Medium-level Zun cultivators were already not that easy to defeat anymore. Zun cultivators could do whatever they wanted, such as Tianqi the Sadhu, who had broken through to the 4th Zunqi layer. Chapter 1225. Yendi's stupid ideas. You're using your own life to threaten yourself? Said a cold voice. So what? I'm warning you, if you kill him, I'll definitely kill myself, said Chiu Xian again. Lin Feng was astonished. What the hell was going on? If that had been body capture, the former Chiu Xian wouldn't exist anymore. She would have been completely replaced. But it definitely seemed like there were 2 people in one body. Lin Feng didn't understand. How? Why? Don't forget that you're practicing mercilessness cultivation. If you stop now, how will you become a peerless cultivator? I never wanted to practice mercilessness cultivation, you force me. I can promise to continue practicing mercilessness cultivation, but you can't kill him. Since Lin Feng had discovered what was going on, the 2 personalities talked without any restraint. All right, if you continue practicing mercilessness cultivation, I won't kill him, but if he touches my body again, I'll have to teach him a lesson, said Chiu Xian. She looked normal again as she looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng, leave now. Tell me what's going on, insisted Lin Feng. Don't ask, please, said Chiu Xian. She looked like she was in pain. Lin Feng remained silent and nodded. He sighed and said, Can you control her? Don't worry, I'll be fine, said Chiu Xian, smiling indifferently. Lin Feng needed to think about what he could do for her. He left, but Chiu Xian looked at leaving him with pain, with a deep-rooted love. She didn't want to let him go actually. Unfortunately, sighed Chiu Xian. Unfortunately? You probably think that if I continue practicing mercilessness cultivation, you will eventually take full control of my body, and in the end you will kill him, right? Stop thinking about that. Practice cultivation, and you'll become a peerless cultivator, whispered Qiu Xian, seemingly chatting to herself. After that, everything went silent. After Lin Feng left, Qiu Xian sat down on a bamboo chair. She couldn't control her emotions anymore. Lin Feng was soon surprised by a voice above him. It was Qiongqi. Good heavens, said the Taoist monk as he descended from the sky towards Lin Feng. Do you know what's going on? Asked Lin Feng. He had almost forgotten about him. He probably knew about Qiu Xian's condition. I am omniscient. There's nothing that I don't know, said Yindi proudly, looking at Lin Feng in a disdainful way. Is it body capture technique or something else? Asked Lin Feng. Even though he knew it wasn't, he still had to ask. Of course it's not, otherwise you'd be dead. Well, what is it then? Why is she changing? Do you believe in the afterlife or in reincarnation? Asked Yindi, narrowing his eyes. Just tell me, said Lin Feng. I don't believe in the afterlife or in reincarnation. But imagine if your little sweetheart was the reincarnation of a strong cultivator, said Yindi, narrowing his eyes. If she was the reincarnation of a strong cultivator, she'd be a strong cultivator. How could she have become like that? What if she were suddenly aware of her previous life? Said Qiongqi using telepathy. Lin Feng looked surprised and sad, but Yindi smiled and said, Don't worry, I'm not so sure. I told you, I don't believe in the afterlife or in reincarnation, but you can still try to understand it that way. After all, some peerless cultivators have incredible powers which they can use to come back to life. Lin Feng stared at him. Qiongqi was hiding something. Can you be any clearer? Said Lin Feng. I can tell you how to rescue your little sweetheart, said Yindi, smiling. How? Yindi narrowed his eyes. He now had a strange expression. She practices mercilessness cultivation, which pushes her towards emotionless. Maybe the Comet Hatu, the 6 heavens of desire and passion skill, from the heavens of desire's palace, can help you control her, said Yindi, smiling and giggling. Lin Feng rolled his eyes. I'm telling you, she will continue to become even more emotionless. And when she becomes entirely emotionless, she won't be your little sweetheart anymore. If you want to prevent that, you will have to force emotions into her, thus forcing her to give up practicing mercilessness cultivation. How can I cast the Comet Hatu, the 6 heavens of desire and passion spell? Asked Lin Feng angrily. Hee, I thought that the Comet Hatu, the 6 heavens of desire and passion spell was a good choice for her too, said Qiongqi, smiling. But if you want to make her give up mercilessness and emotionlessness, you must capture her other self, no matter what cost. The best scenario would be if you could impregnate her. Then she'd give birth to a child, and she couldn't remain emotionless anymore, said Yindi, smiling. Lin Feng was speechless. That suggestion was beyond his expectations. Are you sure you're not trying to fool me? Said Lin Feng. I'm a great emperor, why would I? Said Yindi, putting his hand on his heart. Lin Feng was perturbed. He had never tried to force Qiu Xian to do anything. He had always been honest with her. Do you want to save her or not? That's your own decision. But soon, she won't be herself anymore. And when you battle to the death, don't tell me I didn't warn you. Anyways, I'm off. I need a rest, said Yindi in a serious way. Then he turned around and went to a room. Yindi smiled in an evil way once he entered the room. He was in a good mood as he whispered to himself. That'd be extremely funny if they had a baby. Of course, Lin Feng didn't know what Qiongqi was thinking. He was seated on a chair, looking at the ceiling. It was getting dark outside and the moon was rising. Lin Feng released his godly awareness and explored the courtyard. Qiu Xian was doing the same as him. She was seated outside, looking rather sad. Who? Qiu Xian sensed something and saw Lin Feng arrive. She smiled indifferently. The moon was shining down on her, making her look even more beautiful. Lin Feng remembered Xian back in the imperial palace. They looked so similar. Since we're lovers, how could she be emotionless? Whispered Lin Feng. He sat down next to her. She shivered. If she was emotionless, how could she be in love? Chapter 12:26. Godly awareness killing. Qiu Xian raised her head and said, Let's say I'm unlucky. But on the bright side, practicing mercilessness cultivation is not that bad. From now on, nobody can stop me in Ba Huang. You're lying, said Lin Feng before adding. If you were emotionless and merciless, even if you killed all your enemies, how could you ever lose that smile? I'm not lying. Maybe I'll continue failing, but I will continue concentrating on my cultivation. And in the future I won't be conflicted anymore, said Qiu Xian, as if she were trying to convince herself. But she didn't really believe what she was saying. Why are you trying to lie to yourself? Whispered Lin Feng. He put his hand on her hand. She tried to move, but he didn't let her go, so she stopped struggling. I promised you I'd come to the Qiu clan to ask for permission to marry you. How come you started practicing mercilessness cultivation? Said Lin Feng. She looked at the sky. She seemed to be muttering to herself. Qiu Xian shivered, moved her hand, but she couldn't. I will never go back to the Qiu clan, so there's no need to go back there and ask for their permission to marry me, said Qiu Xian, turning her head. She looked at Lin Feng and smiled. I'll practice mercilessness cultivation to kill all your enemies. I'll protect you, isn't that good enough? That's why you killed 68 disciples from Tianlong Divine Castle and chased by Qiu Luo? Asked Lin Feng. Her eyes were so beautiful, but she lowered her head. She couldn't look Lin Feng's in eyes. Silly girl, said Lin Feng, caressing her. Qiu Xian shivered. Her head was getting too close to Lin Feng's. I have my own way. I'm walking my own path. How can I become stronger if you kill my enemies? Said Lin Feng gently. I don't need you to protect me. I just want you to be with me. Tears appeared in Qiu Xian's eyes. She looked sad and moved away. Lin Feng, no matter what, I'll just concentrate on cultivation and I'll never hurt you, said Qiu Xian, smiling. Qiu Xian blushed. Lin Feng approached her and kissed her cold lips. Qiu Xian shuddered. She felt like she was suffocating. Finally, Qiu Xian put her arms around Lin Feng and hugged him. It felt warm to be against him. At the same time, a terrible coldness invaded her body. Coldness and warmth were fighting inside her body. Lin Feng sensed mercilessness qi and said gently, Yu Xian, I know you have two personalities right now, but you can fight her. Right, said Qiu Xian, nodding. She tried to control herself. She suddenly looked cold. Then she looked warm again and smiled at Lin Feng. Yu Xian, give up mercilessness cultivation. Otherwise you won't be able to control that side anymore. Lin Feng was still hugging her. Lin Feng, I don't want to practice mercilessness cultivation. It's my other personality who wants to. Do you understand? Said Qiu Xian. She couldn't explain exactly how she felt. I understand, said Lin Feng, nodding. She finally admitted that nobody had cast a body capture spell on her. That instead she had two personalities. No wonder Qiongqi told me to use the Comet Hatu, the 6 heavens of desire and passion spell on her, thought Lin Feng. Even though Qiongqi's suggestion was stupid, it wasn't groundless. If Qiu Xian practiced a spell which was antagonist to her merciless and emotionless side, her merciless side would weaken. That way, she would be able to control incredible mercilessness spells herself. It seems like I need to use a powerful spell to help her, thought Lin Feng. How could he let her deteriorate? From now on, you'll always stay with me, said Lin Feng, holding Qiu Xian's hand. Qiu Xian nodded. Who's that? At that moment, Lin Feng's godly awareness found someone, so he instantly grabbed them. Let me go, shouted a girl. Who are you? Why are you spying on us? Said Lin Feng coldly. I don't need to justify myself. Let me go, otherwise I'll get violent, said the girl proudly. You want to die? Said Lin Feng as his godly awareness palace attacked a thread of her godly awareness. If you dare attack my godly awareness, I'll crush you and your girl, said that girl arrogantly and aggressively. Lin Feng groaned coldly. He condensed his godly awareness and destroyed most of her godly awareness. How could she act so aggressively? Ah! A horrible shriek sounded, and some people heard that inside their rooms. Miss! Silhouettes flickered and landed in the courtyard. Those people were extremely strong cultivators. Some of them were even Zoom cultivators. Jiao Jiao, what's wrong? Asked a young man walking to the young girl. Brother, that bastard Lin Feng attacked my godly awareness, kill him. That girl was Qi Jiao Jiao. She had also released her godly awareness and found Lin Feng and Xiao Yu Xian. Lin Feng had destroyed a part of her godly awareness, and nobody had ever done that to her before. Besides, she still wanted to get revenge for what Lin Feng had done to her in Fortune City. Lin Feng, Jiao Jiao, have a good rest. We'll see what happens after the One Clan's event, said Qi Tiansheng before leaving. Chapter 1227. Fighting against Lin Feng. Qi Tiansheng went to another courtyard where two old men were sitting. Is it because of Lin Feng? Said one of them. Qi Tiansheng turned around and said, this time, we came to Tiansu town to understand why the One Clan is using the portal. So I don't want to bother with too many other things. Lin Feng has become famous, and the diviner thinks very highly of him. We should investigate. Only investigate. If he's too weak, we can kill him easily, said Qi Tiansheng. Then he walked to a room. Qi Tiansheng had been disappointed by what the diviner had told him. He still couldn't believe that he'd end up at the bottom of the ranking list. Lin Feng had destroyed his sister's godly awareness. Did he think that because the diviner had predicted a bright future for him, he could do whatever he wanted? If Lin Feng hadn't been protected by Tiantai and Jianga, Qi Tiansheng would have killed Lin Feng openly already. Lin Feng and Xiao Yu Xian were still calmly sitting on the bench. Xiao Yu Xian's head was resting on Lin Feng's shoulders. They both looked up at the sky, calmly, like a couple in love. Lin Feng had to be warm and loving with her if he didn't want her to become emotionless. At that moment Lin Feng frowned. Another godly awareness was there. It seemed like they would never get their own alone time. Lin Feng released his godly awareness and had it turn into a hand, which then moved towards the spying godly awareness. However, the enemy's godly awareness turned into a sharp owl and attacked Lin Feng's godly awareness. Boom! That godly awareness was even more powerful than the godly awareness he had seen before. Lin Feng's godly awareness hand immediately broke. He groaned and his face turned deathly pale. What a strong Zoom cultivator, thought Lin Feng. The girl who had threatened him had probably sent some people. Tap tap. The sound of soft steps could be heard. Outside of the courtyard an old man appeared. Lin Feng sensed his presence. He was there to protect the godly awareness which had attacked Lin Feng. In other words, there were two people. Are you trying to investigate me? Lin Feng smiled coldly. His godly awareness turned into an ancient bell. The sharp godly awareness collided with Lin Feng's ancient bell. The bell resonated, and the sharp godly awareness instantly broke apart. Break! Shouted Lin Feng. His ancient bell resonated again as golden lights appeared, and continued bombarding the sharp godly awareness. However, at the same time, a terrifying godly awareness arrived as well. The old man from outside was getting ready to attack too. The arriving godly awareness condensed again, and turned into a gigantic godly hammer. Golden threads emerged from the hammer, and a terrifying qi emanated out. Lin Feng sensed that his godly awareness was too weak compared to his opponents. Dong! The hammer descended from the sky and cracked ancient bell. Lin Feng immediately condensed his godly awareness, turned it into a gigantic palace. Godly Awareness Palace. Xiao Yu Xian looked extremely surprised. Her other personality said, "The Sky Palace, what's the date tonight?" "Humph. That palace is tiny. How can you call it a Godly Awareness Palace?" "Break," said the old man who had the hammer. His hammer then moved towards the Godly Awareness Palace. Bzzz. Suddenly, the buildings in the courtyard collapsed as a strong wind started blowing. The Godly Awareness Palace started shaking violently, but it didn't collapse. Lin Feng groaned and shouted, "Constriction!" His Godly Awareness Palace grew in size, and a gigantic door opened. The hammer entered it, and then Lin Feng closed the door with the hammer stuck inside. Break! The hammer was stuck in the Godly Awareness Palace, and attacked it from the inside. However, Lin Feng had put a lot of time into the palace. There were marks inside which quickly lit up. The hammer was stuck. "Help me!" shouted the old man who had the Godly Awareness hammer. Then, a silhouette flew into the courtyard where Lin Feng was. Qiu Yu Xian's silhouette flickered as she blocked him. A cultivator of the third Zunqi layer. The godly awareness that Lin Feng had imprisoned also belonged to a cultivator of the third Zunqi layer. Die! Shouted the old man, releasing incredible qi. He had broken through to the third Zunqi layer, so he was almost a medium-level Zun cultivator. He didn't know that Qiu Yu Xian had only broken through to the first Zunqi layer. Qiu Yu Xian suddenly felt like she was trapped in a cage. If that cage became tangible, she'd die inside. Empty space energies, level 3 abstruse energies. Lin Feng was incredulous. If he condensed 3 types of abstruse energies, he could defeat a cultivator of the third Zunqi layer. But last time Lin Feng had fought against such cultivators, they couldn't control so many types of abstruse energies. The cultivators in front of him had broken through to the third Zunqi layer and controlled 3 different types of abstruse energies. One of them had created an empty space cage even. Moon hand, said Qiu Yu Xian. Her hand turned into a moon which assaulted the empty space cage. The empty space cage crackled under her attack. Break, said the old man. The empty space cage broke the moon attack, and at the same time he jumped. It seemed like his body was fusing together with the space around them. Instantly, he appeared in front of Qiu Yu Xian. His abstruse energies turned into a gigantic hand, and a metallic ringing sound appeared. Die! Shouted Lin Feng furiously. He unsheathed his Tianji sword, and at the same time, in his godly awareness palace, millions of golden threads appeared. He wanted to use his sword qi to directly break the godly awareness hammer. Boom! In the distance, more qi shot up into the sky. The other cultivator had decided to attack Lin Feng personally, otherwise, Lin Feng would injure his godly awareness. Qi Jiao Jiao was surprised when she sensed all those energies. How come she could sense the old men's qi? Qi Tiansheng was surprised too. What were the 2 old men doing? Why were they releasing so much qi? Were they fighting Lin Feng using qi? They weren't the only ones to sense the powerful qi. Many people in and outside the tavern sensed those energies. Many people rose up in the air. They wanted to see what was going on. Chapter 1228. Who do you think you are? Lin Feng's opponent was going to block his Tianji sword with his hands. An empty space energy appeared and moved towards Lin Feng. Bzz. Lin Feng dodged. The ground behind broke apart and fissures appeared. Lin Feng grabbed his Tianji sword again. Then he said to Qiu Yu Xian, "Yu Xian, freeze him, I'll behead him." "All right," replied Qiu Yu Xian. Then a cold moon appeared, and at the same time, another moon appeared from inside her body. "Break!" shouted the old man furiously. His silhouette flickered as he released an empty space hand technique, which moved towards the moon. However, several moonlight beams shined upon his body. 9 moons' energies condensed on that cultivator's body, and then merciless energies appeared and corroded his body. "Freeze!" said Qiu Yu Xian. Desolate Sana. Dazzling sword energies appeared at the same time. Lin Feng used his Desolate Ksana attack to pierce through Qiu Yu Xian's moon energies, reaching his enemy's body and lacerating him. Together, they had managed to kill a cultivator of the third Zunqi layer. Those 2 younguns are so strong. Though some people in the sky, many people were watching. A cultivator of the 8th Tianqi layer and a beautiful girl of the first Zunqi layer had joined hands to kill a cultivator of the third Zunqi layer in just a few minutes. That's Qiu Yu Xian. I've already seen her kill many low-level Zun cultivators. Qiu Yu Xian. The crowd was gasping with admiration and amazement. That young man is Lin Feng, said someone else. I heard that Lin Feng fought Long Tongue because of Qiu Yu Xian. They must have an intimate relationship. Right, the 2 rising geniuses from northern Bahuang are lovers too. What a perfect match. Unfortunately, Qiu Yu Xian is practicing merciless cultivation. They won't stay together for very long. People were chatting, but at that moment, another strong cultivator arrived, and his godly awareness was still stuck in Lin Feng's godly awareness palace. The constant internal assault on Lin Feng's godly awareness was extremely painful. Initially, he wanted to kill Lin Feng using his godly awareness, But now Chiu Xin and Lin Feng were joining hands. Let's forget about it, what do you think? Said that person to Lin Feng. His godly awareness was stuck in Lin Feng's godly awareness. He had no choice but to show how weak was. You wanted to destroy my godly awareness, how could I forget that? You're ridiculous, said Lin Feng. The old man's face turned deathly pale. How come Lin Feng's godly awareness palace was so powerful? Anyone can make mistakes, forgive them when possible, so there's no need to kill if it is unnecessary, said the old man as if he was lecturing Lin Feng. You attacked me with your godly awareness, and now you want me to forgive you? Ridiculous. Lin Feng never killed people who didn't threaten him, but when they did, he did his best to kill them. How could he let someone off when they had tried to take his life? Die! The golden lights inside Lin Feng's godly awareness palace turned into a golden rain and broke apart the godly awareness hammer. The old man's face turned deathly pale from the pain. That's enough. You killed someone already, so there's no need to kill everyone, said someone else. It's Qi Tiansheng, one of the 10 strongest cultivators, said someone in the crowd. Lin Feng turned around and looked at Qi Tiansheng. Then he said indifferently, Does this have anything to do with you? Interesting, thought the crowd. They were wondering what would happen if Qi Tiansheng and Lin Feng fought. Who was the strongest one? Even though many people said Lin Feng had become one of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province, he hadn't actually fought any of them. Qi Tiansheng was officially one of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province, and his social status was quite high. He's an elder. You already harmed his godly awareness, that's enough. Be merciful now, said Qi Tiansheng. Lin Feng looked at him indifferently. You're lecturing me? Look at yourself first. You plot behind people's back. Everyone knows how you operate, said Lin Feng. He saw Qi Jiao behind Qi Tiansheng, so he understood what was going on. The godly awareness who had attacked him before was hers. He hadn't recognized it because he didn't care much about her. Ah! The old man gave a horrible shriek. Lin Feng was still attacking his godly awareness. He couldn't stand the pain anymore. Let him off, said Qi Tiansheng while releasing ice-cold energies. Bzzz. The godly awareness palace disappeared, and the godly awareness hammer was propelled away. The crowd sighed. It seemed like Lin Feng wouldn't destroy the old man's godly awareness. After all, Tiantai thought highly of Lin Feng, but Qi Tiansheng had imperial blood. Lin Feng probably knows he can't compete with them, so he released the old man's godly awareness, thought everybody. But suddenly a dazzling light illuminated the night sky. Ah! A horrible shriek resonated in people's ears. Lin Feng had slit the old man's godly awareness with his sword. He showed absolutely no mercy. They thought Lin Feng would let him off. They weren't watching his sword though. Qi Tiansheng was just as astonished as the crowd. He looked at Lin Feng calmly, but the crowd understood that calmness hid something. Lin Feng wasn't arrogant, but he wasn't a coward either. He never thought he was better than others, not even Qi Tiansheng. He had left Shuiyu for Bahuang province, and had progressed since by relying on his own abilities. Lin Feng had many ways to protect himself now: Tiantai, Jiang'e, his cursing scepter, Emperor Wu Tianjian's sword. That was why Lin Feng remained fearless. Who do you think you are? Said Lin Feng indifferently, holding his Tianji sword. Being merciful? Ridiculous. If they wanted to fight, they had to bear the responsibility for it. Chapter 1229. The best place. Qi Tiansheng, one of the 10 strongest cultivators, thought he could give Lin Feng orders? Lin Feng didn't reply with words, he replied with his sword. Who did Qi Tiansheng think he was? The moon was shining upon them as they stared at each other. Were they going to fight? You enjoyed yourself, but there will be consequences, said Qi Tiansheng calmly. Even though I am not from a rich family with an imperial background, I won't let anyone threaten me. I'm not a coward. I will kill anyone who threatens me, said Lin Feng smiling. The diviner is extremely strong, so I think he was right, said Lin Feng laughing mockingly. Qi Tiansheng looked at him in a cold way. He was still upset because of what the diviner had told him. Apart from the people for whom the diviner hadn't predicted anything. Nobody surpassed Lin Feng. Qi Tiansheng, one of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province, was falling behind. "I will prove that the diviner was wrong, but you won't be there to see me," said Qi Tiansheng. Lin Feng's words had hurt him, so he turned around and left. Even though he was furious, he had to remain calm. He still wanted to understand what was going on with the Tiansu teleportation portal. "Some people are doomed to becoming stepping stones," said Qi Jiao to Lin Feng. Then she followed her brother. Lin Feng would definitely become her brother's stepping stone. Even if the diviner had predicted a bright future for Lin Feng. So what? If he died, it'd be useless. Her brother was one of the 10 strongest cultivator of the region. His future had to be bright. They didn't fight, what a pity, thought the crowd sighing. A battle between Qi Tiansheng and Lin Feng would be incredibly interesting. Besides, what did Lin Feng mean when he talked about the diviner? Did the diviner predict a bad future for Qi Tiansheng? Thought the crowd. Then, they remembered how furious Qi Tiansheng looked when Lin Feng said that. They seemingly understood something. Maybe the diviner had predicted a better future for Lin Feng than for Qi Tiansheng. The Qi clan left and the crowd did too. Lin Feng and Qiu Xian were alone once again. Even when they were having a nice romantic moment with only the two of them, they were constantly disturbed. 3 days later, everything was moving with a fast pace in Tiansu town. It was grandfather Wen's 600th birthday. He was an extremely strong cultivator, who was at the top of the Zunqi layer. One more step, and he'd become an emperor. He had tried to break through this bottleneck for the past 100 years, but hadn't managed to. The grandfather's father was an emperor, but even he couldn't help him. He had to rely on himself to break through to the next cultivation layer and become an emperor. So the 600th birthday of such a cultivator was a very important event for the Wen clan. They had to celebrate. Of course, many people had ulterior motives. They were wondering why the Wen clan was using the Tiansu teleportation portal so much, and where they were sending their strong cultivators. Lin Feng and Qiu Xian were walking in Tiansu town when they heard people talking about that. They also understood a bit more about that clan. According to rumors, the Wen clan was very mysterious. Nobody knew what happened behind the scenes. Besides, each generation of the Wens had an incredible genius. Wen Tiange, the current genius at the time, did not have a special body, but he was still one of the 10 strongest cultivators of the region. On top of that, Wen Tiange had always been in the top 5. Lin Feng recalled Wen Tiange, an extraordinary young man with a nice smile and outstanding killing abilities. The Wen clan had emperors, so they had to have their own small worlds. However, they didn't live in their small worlds. They preferred Tiansu town instead. Maybe their small worlds had special uses. Lin Feng and Qiu Xian arrived in front of the Wen clan's gate. There were many people there already, and the high officials of the Wen clan were welcoming people warmly. Once inside, people had to give their names. They would obtain different seats according to their social status. "Celestial land of alchemists Wuqing," said someone in front of Lin Feng. The old man at the entrance gave Wuqing a golden invitation letter. Many people looked at him with admiration. With a golden invitation, guests could already sit just outside of the main hall. Being from the celestial land of alchemists was a high social status. "Tiantai, Lin Feng and Qiu Xian," said Lin Feng in a low voice. The old man was about to give him a golden card when someone said, "Wait." The old man stopped moving, and the person who had said that gave Lin Feng and Qiu Xian an invitation, each with the word "when" written on it. "You can sit in the very main hall." Many people were astonished. That was the best place. People who could sit there were incredible. They were usually old outstanding cultivators, but Lin Feng and Qiu Xian were so young. The old man at the entrance smiled as if he had thought of something, and then let them in. "It seems like we're quite famous and have a good reputation," said Lin Feng, smiling using telepathy. Wuqing from the celestial land of alchemists could only sit outside. It wasn't because the Wens respected Tiantai more than the celestial place of the alchemists. The celestial land of alchemists had existed for a long time, after all. It was because of their names, Lin Feng and Qiu Xian. It also meant that the Wens now considered them as some of the 10 strongest young cultivators of the province. But today is also the date of my battle against Bai Chioluo. Going inside might be troublesome, said Chiu Xian in a low voice. It was grandfather Wen's birthday. Had Bai Chioluo plotted something? We'll see, replied Lin Feng. Even if Bai Chioluo wasn't there, Lin Feng would have come anyways. There were going to be many strong cultivators for grandfather Wen's birthday. Chapter 12:30. A small lesson. Lin Feng and Chiu Xian walked through the halls and corridors and courtyards. Each courtyard and hall had loads of alcohol. Great cultivators in Bahuang province didn't take the initiative to invite people to their birthdays. People could come as they wished. This was better than forgetting some people and offending them. Therefore, they didn't treat their guests unfairly. Of course, people who came also had a certain social status. Ordinary people from the street couldn't simply go to the Wens as they wished. The Wen clan had prepared a lot for the occasion. Alcohol was flowing, there were gigantic bowls of fruits, and there were many gifts. Nothing there was ordinary. Even the alcohol was beneficial for cultivators. After a short time, Lin Feng and Chiu Xian arrived in front of the main hall, where there were gigantic cauldrons filled with alcohol. People were talking with each other. Amongst them, there were many Zun cultivators. So many people, thought Lin Feng glancing at the crowd. Many people possessed an incredible qi. There were so many incredible Zun cultivators. And those who weren't Zun cultivators probably had a very high social status. If it had been a few years before, Lin Feng would have never been able to hang out with such people. He sighed when thinking about that. Being a strong cultivator was opening doors for him. At that moment, someone glanced at Lin Feng in a disdainful way. Lin Feng turned his head and saw Qi Jiao. She was there too, but she could only stay outside though. There wasn't much space inside the main palace, so only Zun cultivators, or the 10 strongest cultivators from the province could enter. Even though she was Qi Tiansheng's sister, she couldn't go in with him. Otherwise, people would have taken all their friends and family members inside, and there would have been too many people. Lin Feng glanced at her and turned around. He continued walking. Jiao, who's that guy? He looks arrogant, asked one of the young men who was with her. An evil and horrible person. He's a bit talented, but he keeps acting recklessly and attacking me, said Qi Jiao in a cold way. Should I teach him a lesson? Asked the young man with an evil smile. His name was Chu Yan. After breaking through to the Zun Qi layer, he hadn't killed anyone. But now there was a cultivator of the Tian Qi layer, whom Qi Jiao didn't like. So he could use him as a stepping stone to impress Qi Jiao. Qi Jiao smiled indifferently and said to Chu Yan, "If you can teach him a lesson, maybe I'll agree to go out with you." Chu Yan went insane as soon as he heard her. If he could have Qi Jiao as a girlfriend, and then marry her, that would change his life. Jiao, I hope you'll remember what you just said, said Chu Yan terribly excited. Teaching a cultivator of the 8th Tian Qi layer a lesson would be easy. He walked towards Lin Feng and blocked his way. Lin Feng looked at him and then continued walking with Chiu Xian. They were at the Wens. There were many extremely strong cultivators in the main hall. Almost everyone was a Zun cultivator, so Lin Feng didn't want to attract attention. Besides, that guy looked boring. However, Lin Feng may have thought that way, but Chu Yan didn't. He moved in front of Lin Feng again and said indifferently, "Today is grandfather Wen's birthday. Even though you're here, you can't act recklessly and do whatever you want. If you go to the wrong place, you'll cause trouble and people will make fun of you." Chu Yan wanted to cause trouble. Lin Feng looked at him in a cold way. It was as if Lin Feng had sharp swords in his eyes piercing through Chu Yan. Chu Yan felt dizzy and shivered. Lin Feng condensed terrifyingly oppressive energies in his hand, and a gigantic demon fist appeared. Besides, that hand also contained thunder and fire energies. Chu Yan was suffocating, and his face turned deathly pale. Boom! Chu Yan released energies which dashed to the skies. Fire appeared in his hands, and a gigantic fire launched out towards Lin Feng. Kacha! Lin Feng's attack easily destroyed the fire. Crackling sounds kept spreading in the air as Chu Yan fell down on his knees. Many of his bones were broken, and he was soaked with cold sweat. If Chu Yan hadn't attacked first, Lin Feng's attack would have killed him. What a terrifying attack. Who's that? He has only broken through to the 8th Tianqi layer, but he made Chu Yan fall down in one strike. Thought many people when they sensed those energies. Lin Feng hadn't said anything. He had just acted in self-defense. Insane indeed, but also very disrespectful. Chu Yan is respected because he's now a Zun cultivator. That guy made him lose face. The elders of your family should educate you, said Lin Feng. Then he passed by Chu Yan and continued walking. What did you say? Said a cold voice coming from inside the main hall. An old man came out. His chi was as vast as an ocean. The old man was Chu Yan's grandfather. He had broken through to the 8th Zun Qi layer, so he was a high-level Zun cultivator. Grandpa, said Chu Yan standing up. He looked extremely embarrassed. He had broken through to the Zun Qi layer, so he thought he'd oppress Lin Feng. But in the end Lin Feng had humiliated him. You're useless. What a disgrace, said the old man angrily. His grandfather couldn't even look at him. He looked at Lin Feng and said coldly, You just said you wanted me to educate my grandson? Even though he's useless, you're not the one who can say such things either. Lin Feng looked at the old man calmly and said, He blocked my way, so I taught him a lesson. Insolent, shouted the old man. Taught him a lesson? Who do you think you are to teach my grandson a lesson? I'd like to see who your family or teachers are to have educated you like that. The old man slowly moved towards Lin Feng. A terrifying strength quickly oppressed Lin Feng. Are you sure? Asked Lin Feng indifferently. Boom! A terrifying chi appeared and surrounded Lin Feng. Cracks appeared on the ground. Have you ever been taught to respect your elders? Said the old man furiously. I will tell my fellow disciples that your grandson offended me, and that I slapped him, making fall to his knees. Then, you said that you wanted to see who my teachers were. Maybe that my teachers won't fight you, but my fellow disciples will. One of them said whatever people do to me, he'll do it to them 10 times over. Said Lin Feng indifferently. And who's that? Said the old man in a cold way. But at that moment, he seemed to understand that Lin Feng wasn't a nobody, so he took a step back. Mu Chen, said Lin Feng indifferently. Chapter 1231. Mu Chen's reputation in northern Bahuang. When Emperor Shi and Emperor Yu were still rising, they had only recruited 9 disciples. Nobody thought highly of them, but a little bit over a dozen years later, they started amazing the province. Especially the 3 best disciples, Mu Chen, Ho Qinglin and Tianqi the monk. They had never lost any battle. Tianqi the Buddhist monk's golden body was almost indestructible. Ho Qinglin controlled reincarnation energies. Mu Chen was extremely strong too, so much so that apart from emperors, nobody could defeat him. Nobody knew what Mu Chen's limits were, but if no emperor showed up, nobody could defeat him. It was said that Mu Chen had killed a cultivator who was 800 years old and had been at the top of the Zun Qi layer already for 100 years. Grandfather Wen was 600 years old and was extremely strong. He was at the top of the Zun Qi layer, but nobody would have dared state that he could defeat Mu Chen. Therefore, when Lin Feng pronounced Mu Chen's name, the atmosphere became silent instantly. Who did he think he was? Mu Chen. The old man looked petrified. Lin Feng was smiling coldly on the inside. His fellow disciples seemed to have a good reputation. Only pronouncing his name sufficed to scare people away. Wuxia had also said it. As long as an emperor didn't show up, Mu Chen could defeat anyone. Therefore, Lin Feng didn't mind saying that when the old man oppressed him. A feudal imperial cultivation disciple. You just became part of a group, and you dare act that arrogantly. You really need to be taught a lesson, said the old man coldly. An imperial cultivation disciple dared act arrogantly. But there were millions of imperial cultivation disciples in the Bahuang province. I'm sorry, but I'm now Tiantai's 11th direct disciple. You said my 2 teachers should educate me, but they don't have time to take care of worldly affairs and people like you. If Mu Chen heard someone say that, he wouldn't mind exchanging views on cultivation with you. We'll see if your arrogance is justified, said Lin Feng in a cold way. A direct disciple? Since it was that way, the old man couldn't say anything. If Chu Yan had defeated Lin Feng, Tiantai wouldn't have been able to say anything. But if the old man said Lin Feng wasn't educated, then it meant he had disrespected Lin Feng's fellow direct disciples and teachers. Mu Chen already had a reason to kill him. The old man didn't know what to say. In the cultivation world, strength was the most important thing, but honor was important too. His grandson had provoked Lin Feng, and Lin Feng had taught him a lesson. If he attacked Lin Feng, it would quickly escalate tension between him and Tiantai. Brother Lin Feng, you're here. Come into the main hall, said someone happily at that moment. It was Wen Tiange. He was wearing white clothes. Lin Feng, he's Lin Feng. The crowd was surprised. No wonder. They didn't know Lin Feng had become a direct disciple already. Lin Feng, thought the old man. Even though he didn't really care about the newer generations, he had already heard Lin Feng's name once or twice. He also knew that Tiantai and Tianlong Divine Castle's current war had started because of Lin Feng. Lin Feng glanced at the old man in a cold way. The old man had shut up now. And now when Tiange came out and called Lin Feng, giving him face, he didn't want the old man to continue harassing Lin Feng either. Lin Feng and Qiu Yuxian followed when Tiange into the main hall. Qi Jiao looked even worse. She had told Chu Yan to provoke Lin Feng to make him lose face. She hadn't thought things would end up that way. Brother Wen, not just anyone can enter the main hall, right? Said Qi Jiao smiling at Wen Tiange, and then glancing at Lin Feng and Qiu Yuxian. In her family, only Qi Tiansheng could enter the main hall. Lin Feng took out the 2 invitation cards and showed them to Qi Jiao. You forgot what the diviner told you. Don't think too highly of yourself. Outside of your clan you're a nobody, and now I'm warning you, my patience is exhaustible, said Lin Feng indifferently. He didn't even glance at her while talking. Then he continued walking. Qi Jiao was aghast after thinking about he said. Lin Feng didn't feel like talking to Qi Jiao anymore. Lin Feng entered the main hall and found that it was very vast. There were a dozen people inside already. Some of them looked incredible while a few looked ordinary, but their strength was unfathomable. Of course, there were people as young as Lin Feng there too. In the main hall, Lin Feng noticed a few people he had already seen. Qi Tiansheng from the eastern part of Bahuang, Si Kong from the central part of Bahuang, Mu Fanshun from the Magic World, Heavenly Palace, and Bai Qiu Luo from the Sunset Pavilion. But now his arm was intact. He must have gotten a new arm. Bai Qiu Luo looked at Lin Feng and Qiu Yuxian calmly. He even smiled in a resplendent way. It was Grandfather Wen's 600th birthday. The old man was smiling in a resplendent way. Even though he was 600 years old, his cheeks were red and he looked very fit. He was sitting on what looked like a real dragon. We are Lin Feng and Qiu Yuxian from Tiantai. Happy birthday. We wish you much success, and hope you can become an emperor as soon as possible, said Lin Feng politely bowing in front of the old man. Not bad, said the old man smiling and nodding at Lin Feng and Qiu Yuxian. Then he said, I've been living for a long time and now that geniuses are rising, it seems like I have to hurry along or I'll soon be passed. What are you talking about? Even though geniuses are rising in Bahuang, you'll soon be an emperor. Even if geniuses rise, they'll still look up at you, said someone smiling. That person was wearing a long robe and a helmet. Yu Xiao, you're too nice. I don't know when I will be able to break through to the next cultivation layer. But you have already broken through to the 6th Zunqi layer. You'll certainly become an emperor soon, replied the old man smiling. Yu Xiao wasn't in the main palace because he had broken through to the 6th Zunqi layer, but because he was from a powerful family in the central part of Bahuang, the godly Xiaoyao sect. You're too kind, said Yu Xiao polite. He looked at Lin Feng in a deep and meaningful way. He had seen Lin Feng back then in Ganyu. Back then, Lin Feng was only at the bottom of the Tianqi layer and now, Lin Feng had changed. He was at the top of the Tianqi layer, and could already humiliate Zun cultivators such as Chu Yan. Besides, He had become the emperor's direct disciples, which meant their social status was similar. Yu Xiao didn't know that the one who had killed Prince Tianlin was also in front of him. Lin Feng recognized Yu Xiao too. He remembered when Yu Xiao descended from the sky in Ahsoka, and had looked at the crowd in a disdainful way. If Ho Qinglin hadn't helped Lin Feng back then, Yu Xiao would have killed him. However, there was still a big difference between them. Yu Xiao was already a high-level Zoom cultivator. Tiange Lin Feng, Qiu Yu Xian, and you are such young people. You should become good friends, said the old man to Wen Tiange. Indeed, said Wen Tiange, nodding before he sat down next to Lin Feng and Qiu Yu Xian. Chapter 1232. Unanswerable discussion. Lin Feng, your guests here, so do as you wish. The alcohol here is mixed with dragon saliva juice. You should try it, said Wen Tiange, smiling. Then, he gave Lin Feng and Qiu Yu Xian 2 glasses. Thank you so much, said Lin Feng, raising his glass. Then they downed their drinks. In a flash, Lin Feng sensed the alcohol reaching his organs, making his blood boil. The One clan was an imperial clan, so it wasn't surprising that they had incredible things like this alcohol. It's so tasty, said Lin Feng, smiling. When Tiange smiled and said, you can only drink that alcohol in the main hall. Brother Lin Feng, you now have broken through to the 8th Tianqi layer, and you defeated Long Tongue and Qi Tianshan. You have an undeserved reputation. It proves that the ranking of the 10 best cultivators of the province is meaningless. Brother Wen, you don't mind talking about that ranking list either, it seems, said Lin Feng politely. At that moment, Mr. Chu walked into the palace and looked for a place to sit. He looked rather unhappy. He had been stuck in an embarrassing situation because of Lin Feng, and then when Tiange had come to rescue Lin Feng. So how could Mr. Chu be happy? He was a strong Zoom cultivator. Even though Lin Feng was talented, becoming as strong as Mr. Chu was difficult, and Lin Feng had offended him. Brother Lin Feng, don't take it to heart, but be careful. He could find ways to deal with you, said Wen Tiange to Lin Feng using telepathy. If the old man wanted to harm Lin Feng, he could find ways. All right, said Lin Feng, nodding. Wen Tiange was attempting to gain favor with Lin Feng. Brother Lin Feng, many people here are incredible cultivators from the central part of Bahuang. Over there, next to my great-grandfather, is a man from the Yin clan from Tiansu town. He has also broken through to the 9th Zunqi layer. Over there, that middle-aged man is a cultivator from central Bahuang, from the Z clan. He has broken through to the 9th Zunqi layer too. He has a purple eye, which is the second best eye to have, after the celestial eyes, said Wen Tiange. It was extremely rare to see such people. But this time, they were all together in the same room, because they all liked Grandfather Wen. Lin Feng looked at those people inside. So many strong cultivators came from everywhere in the region to celebrate Grandfather Wen's birthday. There were many incredible high-level Zoom cultivators in the province. So many people were close to becoming emperors, but hadn't yet. Apart from emperors, not many people knew those cultivators of the 9th Zunqi layer. In Tiantai, I have a fellow disciple who has purple eyes. Is he related to him? Asked Lin Feng. He is from the Z clan, said Wen Tiange, smiling and nodding. Lin Feng was surprised and asked, if he's from the Z clan, why did he leave central Bahuang? And why did he join Tiantai? In central Bahuang, there are 4 ancient cities with influential imperial groups in each of them. My clan, the One clan or the Sikong clan for example, are influential clans. Many people are not willing to become disciples in clans, after all, if they don't have imperial blood, so it would be difficult to learn from an emperor, said Wen Tiange honestly. In the magic world, Heavenly Palace only accepts people who practice illusion magic. Besides, Emperor Shi and Emperor Yu had 9 disciples and 3 of them have amazed the entire province. Therefore, I don't think it is strange to want to join Tiantai. Cultivators still have to rely on their own skills most of the time though. If those 3 people from Tiantai have amazed the entire province, it's because they have an indomitable will, and they worked hard for it, said Qi Tiansheng indifferently, He was walking towards them. It was basically saying that he has an indomitable will. Indeed, it's not like some people who solely rely on their clan and act arrogantly because of it. You should teach her that, said Lin Feng, glancing at Qi Tiansheng impolitely. He was obviously talking about Qi Jiao. Why did Qi Tiansheng get involved in Wen Tiange and Lin Feng's conversation anyway? Especially seeing how he sounded like he was lecturing them. Lin Feng couldn't stand that behavior. At least some people have a clan to rely on, not like others who act arrogant, but are actually tiny insects who could die instantly if they fought, said Qi Tiansheng calmly. Long Ting wasn't even considered one of the 10 strongest cultivators. There's nothing exceptional about defeating him. Lin Feng and Qi Tiansheng's argument attracted many people's attention. The very strong Zun cultivators were smiling. The purple-eyed Zun cultivator smiled and said, "Geniuses are rising. They're impulsive and passionate. That's the spirit. That's the only way to become a strong cultivator. Destroying people who stand in your way. It's a very honorable path." Brother Z is right. Geniuses are rising. Brother One, who do you think will rise and stand out in the younger generation? Asked another high-level Zun cultivator, smiling. Sometimes grand talents mature slowly. But all in all, the most important thing is determination. Those who persevere will amaze everyone. There's no specific rule to say who will stand out or not, said Grandfather One. He didn't want to say whom he thought highly of. He kept his thoughts to himself. That was good enough. Besides, nobody could predict anything. Even the diviner said it was impossible. I can't wait to see when Tiange reached the clouds, said the other Zun cultivator, smiling. Grandfather One looked happy and said, I hope he will. He needs more experience though. I will teach him some things, and then I will send him to some battlefields and show him that there are many extremely powerful cultivators in this world. What you mean is, the crowd was surprised. Did the One clan want to send Wen Tiange to war to experience life and death? If he doesn't face life and death experiences, he will never be strong. In the Bahuang province, maybe there are many strong people, but they don't know what it feels like to be in real danger, said the old man, sighing. Indeed, if a young man like Wen Tiange didn't go to war to experience life and death, who would dare touch him in the Bahuang province? Wen Tiange is extremely talented, and he has an incredible grandfather. He will certainly amaze the whole province soon. And the 10 strongest cultivators of the province are also amazing and incredibly talented. They will each reign over the region sooner or later, said Mr. Chu, trying to imply that Lin Feng couldn't compete with the 10 strongest cultivators. You can't say that, for things can change quickly. On the path of cultivation, nothing is impossible. A list of cultivators is the same. It changes quickly, said Mr. Wen, smiling indifferently. You're right. Even amongst the 10 strongest cultivators of the region, there are stronger people than them, said someone at that moment. The crowd saw a young man walk into the main hall. He was smiling indifferently, yet slightly evilly. The Abyss of Sufferings congratulates Mr. Wen on his 600th birthday. Besides, there are so many strong old Zun cultivators and heroic young people. Why not organize some battles? I'm sure Mr. Wen would love to watch. Chapter 1233. Let the battles start. The crowd looked at the young man from the Abyss of Sufferings. He was one of the 10 strongest cultivators, and he kept staring at Wen Tiange in a meaningful way. The Abyss of Sufferings taught their disciples how to be real killers. They didn't care about anything besides blood and violence. That young man's eyes were bloodshot. Surely, he had killed many people in his life. He had also practiced cultivation very hard, and had now broken through to the Zunqi layer. So now he had come to challenge Wen Tiange. Wen Tiange understood deadly abstruse energies, and liked to use swords to kill. Wu Tian from the Abyss of Sufferings was a killer too. He was even a disciple of the Assassin Emperor. Both of them were in the top 10 strongest cultivators of the region, so it seemed like they had to prove who the strongest assassin was. Now it was the old man's birthday, so why not fight for a show? I was supposed to fight someone too, so why not organize a few fights, said Bai Qiu Luo, smiling. He was talking about Qiu Yuxian. Many Zoom cultivators smiled. They were excited. They also wanted to see how strong those young people were. But they had to wait for Mr. Wen to give them permission. You want to fight against Tiange? Asked Mr. Wen to Wu Tian. He was smiling indifferently. If he doesn't dare fight, I can fight someone else. There are many people here today. Sikong Xiao by Qiu Luo. Anyone is fine, said Wu Tian. Mr. Wen laughed and looked at Wen Tiange. Wen Tiange was smiling in a resplendent way and sipping his drink. He smiled at Lin Feng and said, "Very good. I've wanted to offer gift for my grandpa for his birthday." "Nice," said Lin Feng, smiling indifferently. Wen Tiange suggested that if he defeated Wu Tian, that would be the greatest gift for his grandfather. People were surprised when they saw Wen Tiange smile. "Hee, since you want to fight, I don't mind. Wu Tian, have a sit first, and when we're done with the ceremony, we'll set up the fighting stage. Those who want to fight can give it a try." "Indeed, that's a beautiful gift for my birthday," said Mr. Wen proudly. Everybody understood that Mr. Wen had faith in Wen Tiange. "As you wish, sir," said Wu Tian. He was smiling evilly after Wen Tiange had accepted his challenge. The news that battles were going to take place spread throughout the palaces. Wu Tian and Wen Tiange, two of the 10 strongest young cultivators of the region, were going to fight finally. Besides, many geniuses were there too. And the old man had said that if they wanted to fight, they could. The atmosphere was still calm in main hall, as people continued to chat. Wu Tian would glance at Qi Tiansheng and Lin Feng from time to time. "I hope some people won't run away, and will instead fight this time," said Qi Tiansheng, glancing at Lin Feng. Qi Tiansheng was challenging Lin Feng. "Some people will be eliminated from the list of the 10 strongest young cultivators," said Lin Feng calmly. He had seemingly accepted the challenge with that statement. "I hope you're as good at fighting as you are at talking," said Qi Tiansheng, violently slamming his glass on a table, almost breaking it. "I'm just worried that when people fall sometimes, they resort to evil and sly methods to kill their enemies," said Lin Feng. Everybody heard him. The Zoom cultivators were still smiling though. They all had their own opinions. Qi Tiansheng had been one of the 10 strongest young cultivators for a long time. He was from the Qi clan in the eastern part of Bahuang, so he had many ways to deal with his enemies. Lin Feng had just started rising, so he was still a newcomer. Would he be able to do the same as his 3 other fellow disciples, who had never been defeated? But those 10 strongest young cultivators didn't have an undeserved reputation. Qi Tiansheng was a Zoom cultivator, while Lin Feng had only broken through to the 8th Tianqi layer. Defeating Qi Tiansheng wouldn't be easy. Many of the older Zoom cultivators actually didn't think highly of Lin Feng. He had defeated Long Tongue, so they admitted that he was talented. Maybe if Lin Feng had broken through to the 9th Tianqi layer, his chances of winning would have been higher. But with the strength of the 8th Tianqi layer, it wouldn't be so easy. After all, Qi Tiansheng was from an imperial clan, so he had inherited a strong blood. Could Lin Feng compete with him? "You have more pressure than me," said Wen Tiange to Lin Feng while smiling and raising his glass. 3 battles were already planned. Wen Tiange against Wu Tian, Qiu Yuxian against Bai Qiu Luo, and Qi Tiansheng against Lin Feng. The old man had already received lots of gifts, and he had many guests. Lin Feng offered a low-level holy weapon to Mr. Wen. Mr. Wen didn't really care about such presents. The intention behind the gift is what counted. "All right, I'm satisfied. The ceremony was great. Let's see how strong the younger generation has become," said Mr. Wen while smiling indifferently. Everybody looked as Mr. Wen stood up. "Let the battles start," said Mr. Wen. He didn't talk loudly, but his voice spread all throughout the palaces and courtyards. Very quickly, people looked in the direction of the courtyard where the battle stage was. They gazed into the distance impatiently. Some of the strongest cultivators of the region were going to fight. "Everybody, follow me to the fighting stage," said Mr. Wen. Mr. Wen and the others rose up in the air, and the crowd followed. It was gigantic. It was as large as a castle. It contained an incredible strength. Even if strong cultivators fought on it, they could hardly scratch it. That battle stage had been constructed by experts. Chapter 1234. When Tiange vs. Wu Tian. Bzzz. A terrifying strength rolled in waves on the stage. The crowd didn't sense the energies so much since the stage was well insulated, but they could still imagine it. At that moment, there was a myriad of people around the stage, and Mr. Wen was standing on a turret. Today is my birthday, and I am honored to host some battles. I hope that you will all give me face by not killing your opponents, said Mr. Wen loudly. The crowd already figured that killing their opponents was impossible on the day of Mr. Wen's birthday. Bzzz. At that moment, a silhouette rose up in the air and jumped onto the stage. It was Wu Tian from the Abyss of Sufferings. When Tiange, come and fight, said Wu Tian indifferently. His eyes looked sharp, and his energies dashed to the skies. In Fortune City, the diviner had told him he wasn't necessarily as strong as Wen Tiange. So Wu Tian had felt terribly humiliated. Now he wanted to prove that the diviner was wrong. Nobody could compare to him in assassination. When Tiange rose up in the air, his clothes were fluttering in the wind. He looked elegant, confident, and at ease. When Tiange landed on the stage and proudly glanced at Wu Tian, his chi was different from back in the main hall. His goal was to show that Wu Tian couldn't compete with him. To be called a beast, a monster, and be one of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province, cultivators had to have a lofty and unyielding character. Therefore, Wu Tian had traveled a long way from the Abyss of Sufferings to challenge Wen Tiange. They both looked proud, as a strong wind was blowing. They hadn't even moved yet, but their chi was dashing to the skies. When Tiange released terrifying energies, and a sanguinary demon appeared behind Wu Tian. One Tiange's sword appeared, and it was a meter long, white as snow. When Tiange's chi changed once his sword appeared, he didn't look indifferent anymore. He looked like a killer. Energies whistled. Finally, after what seemed like a long time, the two cultivators moved. However, the crowd only saw a red and white shadow as they ran about. Boom! The two cultivators collided over and over again. The crowd didn't see how many times Wu Tian and Wen Tiange collided. Silhouettes kept appearing and then disappearing. Speed, abstruse energies, deadly energies. I wonder what I'd do if I were fighting against one of them, thought Lin Feng, trying to imagine what it'd be like to fight one of them. Boom boom. Powerful energies rolled in waves. There was a distance between them for the first time. Their battle was so explosive and so fast that it made people shiver. Slash slash. The atmosphere crackled as white and red lights appeared between them. If I were in the middle, I would already be dead. Though many of the low-level Zun cultivators in the crowd. Abyss of Sufferings, sanguinary death, said Wu Tian as red destructive energies emerged from his body and moved towards Wen Tiange. Very quickly, Wen Tiange was surrounded by scary energies. Those energies sounded like wailing ghosts, seemingly creating its own hell. Wen Tiange was holding his sword as he fused together with it. Threads of chi emerged as he started running towards the Abyss of Sufferings. Deadly strength moved in all directions, attempting to destroy that cage from hell. Cracking sounds appeared, as a hole appeared in the Abyss of Sufferings cage. Wu Tian then entered the cage. He looked like a demon king as he said, "Destructive Abyss of Sufferings, who can escape?" Boom! Terrifying energies surrounded Wen Tiange again. Even if 1,000,000 people were in the cage, they'd all have to die, for it was Wu Tian's territory. He was the king of hell. He mixed abstruse energies with his Abyss of Sufferings cage. When he reaches the top of the Zun Chi layer, even if there are millions of people in his cage, nobody would be able to break it, said the purple-eyed Zun cultivator next to Mr. Wen. The Abyss of Sufferings were experts at practicing assassination cultivation. Even though Wu Tian is strong, he's far from being as strong as an assassin emperor. Tiange understands strength and destruction abstruse energies better than Wu Tian, whispered Mr. Wen. He sounded worried about Wen Tiange, who was stuck in the cage though. After that, Wen Tiange moved his sword again, as white lights appeared all around him. The crowd couldn't see Wen Tiange anymore. They only saw white sword lights. Slash slash. More cracking sounds appeared as the sword lights became more and more dazzling. The crowd looked nervous and clenched their fists. How terrifying. They couldn't see Wen Tiange anymore. They could only see the abyss of suffering's cage slowly cracking. Deadly abstruse energies, nice. And that's... A few Zoom cultivators were surprised. When Tiange disappeared, only his sword was moving. Was that the strength the Wen clan had been hiding all this time? Empty space abstruse energies were related to space. Tiansu Town was a town known for its empty space cultivators. So the Wen clan also practiced empty space cultivation. When Tiange didn't mind showing off these powers of the Wen clan, the abyss of suffering's cage shook violently. It seemingly couldn't oppress the white sword lights. Slash slash. The abyss of suffering's cage broke into 1,000 pieces, and the sword lights prevailed. A dazzling sword streaked across the sky and moved towards Wu Tian, but at the last second, he dodged it, and the sword passed right next to him. Then he ran back with incredible speed. Another beam of light moved towards him though. When Tiange reappeared, but the crowd could only see a shadow. When Tiange condensed dazzling white lights which contained deadly abstruse energies again. The crowd then looked at Wu Tian, as a gigantic word appeared above him, die. Wu Tian couldn't dodge anymore for he was in the middle of it. Deadly abstruse energies were going to explode and destroy the area around him. You're not the only one who understands that kind of strength. Don't forget that I'm also a Zoom cultivator now, said Wen Tiange proudly, putting his sword away again. The battle was over. Wen Tiange, you're much stronger than most people think. Maybe that amongst the 10 strongest young cultivators, you're in the top 3, said Wu Tian sighing. He had lost. Top 3? Is Wen Tiange that strong? Thought the crowd shivering. Wen Tiange looked indifferent as his abstruse energies disappeared. That battle was already over. I lost, but it doesn't matter. You're stronger than me, so I will have to continue studying. Fighting against stronger people makes me stronger. I hope we can fight again the next time we meet, said Wu Tian. He then rose up in the air. Wen Tiange, I can't wait to fight you again. Then Wu Tian left. He had lost, but it didn't make him feel dispirited. On the contrary, it made him feel even more determined. I'll wait for you, said Wen Tiange, watching as Wu Tian disappear. He knew that even though he had won this time, he still could lose the next time. Nobody could predict the future. Things changed quickly in the cultivation world. The next time they battle, Wu Tian would certainly be much stronger, and even more terrifying. But Wen Tiange wouldn't waste time either. Chapter 1235, Lin Feng Fight. Now that the 10 strongest young cultivators are gradually breaking through to the Zunqi layer, they're becoming even more terrifying. Those two didn't even use their full strength, but their abstruse energies are already so powerful. Wen Tiange and Wu Tian's abstruse energies are already level 3, thought the crowd sighing. Amongst low-level Zoom cultivators, they now had few opponents. Besides, Wu Tian had even said that Wu Tian could be considered as one of the 3 strongest cultivators of the province. How amazing was that? Who wants to try this time? Let's battle happily today, said Mr. Wen. He was satisfied that Wen Tiange had won the first battle, so he was smiling in a resplendent way. However, in front of so many extremely strong Zoom cultivators, who would be willing to fight? Apart from the 10 strongest cultivators of the province, the others would probably be scared. At that moment, a silhouette flickered and someone landed on stage. Bai Qiu Luo, another one of the 10 strongest young cultivators. The crowd was staring at him. Wen Tiange and Wu Tian were both amongst the 10 strongest young cultivators of the province. Now Bai Qiu Luo had jumped on stage, which meant that the girl who had chased him was probably there too. What are you waiting for? Said Bai Qiu Luo in a provocative way to Qiu Yuxian. That girl had chased him all the way from western Bahuang to central Bahuang. He had taken great efforts, but hadn't managed to get rid himself of her. Since it was that way, she would fall there. Be careful, said Lin Feng to Qiu Yuxian. Bai Qiu Luo was one of the 10 strongest young cultivators, so it was safe to say that he was very strong. Besides, he was probably one of the 7 assassins. When he didn't kill people secretly, he had to find other ways to do it openly. I will, said Qiu Yuxian nodding. She then jumped onto the stage. A protective layer then appeared around the stage as usual. The fighters wouldn't need to worry about overdoing themselves. Bai Qiu Luo is one of the 10 strongest young cultivators. He shouldn't lose. Not necessarily. Qiu Yu Xian practices mercilessness and emotionlessness cultivation. She has terrifying powers. She rose up in a very short time. Less than a year actually. She even cut off one of his arms. Right, but even if you lose an arm when you're a Zun cultivator, you can always heal and grow a new one. With medicine, the process is even more straightforward. Bai Qiu Luo's arm is now intact again, so he can battle without any hindrance. At that moment, a silver light appeared, and a sharp sword appeared in Bai Qiu Luo's hand, quickly approaching Qiu Yu Xian with incredibly speed. He didn't waste any time. Qiu Yu Xian raised her hand, and a moon appeared. She pushed it forwards to block the sword attack. The sword was spinning as incredibly terrifying golden lights appeared and illuminated the stage. The moon broke under that pressure. The Sunset Pavilion knows skills, which enables them to transform abstruse energies into a million forms. If they learn illusion abstruse energies and have basic understanding of another form of abstruse energies, they can cast incredible illusion spells. They can only cast illusion spells using one type of abstruse energies at a time though. However, Bai Qiu Luo understands more than one sort of abstruse energies, plus illusion abstruse energies. Therefore, he can easily use illusion abstruse energies and mix them with other types as he wishes. Said Mr. One. He enjoyed watching people from the Sunset Pavilion fight. I heard that the girl practices mercilessness cultivation. Let's see how it goes, said another older Zun cultivator. Life was too short. Who was willing to give up emotions? Very few people were willing to become emotionless and merciless. Qiu Yu Xian moved back, however. Bai Qiu Luo's sword moved even faster towards her throat. Bzzz. A moon emerged from Qiu Yu Xian's body, emitting crackling sounds as it moved towards Bai Qiu Luo. Die, said Bai Qiu Luo. In a flash, a terrifying strength emerged from his body, and the moon broke into pieces. Look at me, shouted Bai Qiu Luo furiously. His eyes suddenly became dark, like the eyes of demon. Qiu Yu Xian looked at him, and suddenly felt dizzy, as if she was becoming the prisoner of an illusion. Emotionlessness, said Qiu Yu Xian. 2 moons appeared in her eyes. She could clearly see that she was in an illusion now. Bai Qiu Luo was chanting incantations. If you love someone, how can you practice emotionlessness cultivation? This is not good. Lin Feng had influenced her, so her emotionlessness cultivation had been damaged. It seems like Yu Xian needs to learn some other skills. No matter whether she can control her emotionless side or not, she needs skills which allow her to battle even when she can feel emotions. Though Lin Feng, if Bai Qiu Luo had the opportunity, he wouldn't let her off. Sharp moon, said Qiu Yu Xian. 2 moons appeared and broke in the illusion, but Bai Qiu Luo's sword was approaching. He didn't give Qiu Yu Xian any chances to act. How come Bai Qiu Luo gives me the impression that his blood and spirit contain assassin strength? Whispered Mr. One. Bai Qiu Luo looked like a real murderer. That girl doesn't seem emotionless to me. She has been affected by someone or something, thought all the older Zun cultivators. Moon condensation freeze, said Qiu Yu Xian coldly. She blocked the sword. But at that moment, Bai Qiu Luo moved his left hand and threw some powder in the air. Qiu Yu Xian suddenly panicked and moved backwards quickly, but she still inhaled the powder. Bastard, thought Lin Feng. What was that powder which Bai Qiu Luo had just thrown? The crowd was also astonished. That wasn't supposed to be a battle to death. The powder Bai Qiu Luo had used in front of everyone could probably make people sick. Since he did that in front of everyone else, it meant that he didn't care if other people saw him, as long as he achieved his goal. I wouldn't have thought that Bai Qiu Luo could be so sly and cruel, said Mr. One, as if he had suddenly understood what kind of person Bai Qiu Luo was. Your emotions control your life. You can't be emotionless. Look at me. I'll tell you how to control your life, said Bai Qiu Luo, casting an illusion spell. Qiu Yu Xian couldn't see clearly anymore. Her thoughts were being corroded by the illusion. It seems like that powder helps him control people. They are more impressionable under the effect of that powder. Though the crowd, Qiu Xian was in mortal danger. Bai Qiu Luo didn't move. He was just standing there, staring at Qiu Xian. Mister, he used some special powder. Please open the curtain, said Lin Feng to Mr. Wen. He hadn't thought that Qiu Xian would be weakened because of him, and that Bai Qiu Luo would resort to sly methods to fight her. He had no choice but to get involved. The battle is not over. Besides, who said he couldn't use the powder? Said Qi Tiansheng. At that moment, Mr. Wen looked at Lin Feng and saw that he was glancing at Qi Tiansheng in a cold way. Lin Feng continued. Mister, although there are no rules which say we can't use special methods, Bai Qiu Luo did. So I have nothing to say against that then. But nothing forbids other people from joining the battle either, right? So please open the curtain and let me join in. Ridiculous, the battle is not over, said Qi Tiansheng. You shut the hell up, shouted Lin Feng furiously. Sharp sword energies emerged from his eyes and moved towards Qi Tiansheng. If you don't mind, let's do a double battle, Qiu Xian and me against you and him, said Lin Feng. Then looked at the old man and said, please open the curtain. All right, there are no rules. Since he used some special powder, I guess you can go, said the old man nodding. I'm not closing the curtain anymore. Low-level Zun cultivators can all join if they want. If some people can't stand the energies, you can move back. Lin Feng immediately jumped onto the stage. Let's see who will save her, thought Qi Tiansheng. Then he said, your opponent is me. Chapter 1236. Whistling Sword in the Sky. Qi Tiansheng wanted to fight Lin Feng back in the main hall, but he couldn't. Now was the perfect moment to fight. Lin Feng had destroyed his sister's godly awareness and had humiliated him because he was a direct disciple of Tiantai. Qi Tiansheng immediately jumped in front of Lin Feng, releasing powerful energies. Lin Feng had the feeling that mammoths were running around him. Die, said Lin Feng. He took out his Tianji sword, and thunders emitted blasting sounds. The sword moved towards Bai Qiu Luo, and at the same time, Lin Feng raised his hand and released demonic qi. A demonic hand appeared containing abstruse energies. Boom boom! The atmosphere crackled. Lin Feng's demonic hand had collided with empty space energies. Piss off! Lin Feng jumped forwards and condensed more forces. The ground crackled and rumbling sounds were heard. A terrifying wind started blowing as a monstrous strength bombarded Qi Tiansheng's body. His facial expression immediately changed. He jumped forwards. Now he was in symbiosis with the earth and sky. Lin Feng defeated Long Tongue. Now Qi Tiansheng, who is one of the 10 strongest young cultivators, is already facing difficulty while fighting Lin Feng. This battle will definitely be phenomenally brilliant, thought the crowd. Bzzz. Lin Feng released his godly awareness to control his Tianji sword. His sword followed Qiu Xian, while she was attacking Bai Qiu Luo. That way, Lin Feng wouldn't bother her, and if the sword had the opportunity, it would be able to attack Bai Qiu Luo quickly, maybe even killing him. Bzzz. Bzzz. Qi Tiansheng ran towards Lin Feng, releasing fire energies. Qi Tiansheng's flames contained abstruse energies, and Lin Feng had known that since Fortune City. Qi Tiansheng raised one finger, and the fire became even more intense. Then he jumped into the flames. In a flash, the fire turned into a deflagration with a vacuum effect in the middle. Qi Tiansheng is using a special power with abstruse energies. The crowd saw Qi Tiansheng jump into his flames and quickly disappear. Then the flames headed straight towards Lin Feng's third eye. Lin Feng quickly sensed the danger. Wind energies surrounded his body. Coupled with the Xiao Yao agility technique, he managed to dodge the attack. Where Qi Tiansheng had put his finger, black destructive energies appeared, and they lasted for a long time, proving just how strong Qi Tiansheng's attack was. Slash! Qi Tiansheng raised another finger, and destructive energies moved towards Lin Feng again. Immaterial finger, whispered Mr. Wen. That was the Qi clan's immaterial finger, a finger which contained destructive energies, a fusion of empty space and fire abstruse energies. Wind thunder laceration, said Lin Feng using his hand as a sword. It collided with the immaterial finger attack, and the space exploded. A fusion of wind and thunder abstruse energies. The old Zoom cultivators observing Lin Feng's attack. It contained several sorts of energies, but his attacks weren't perfect. He was slightly weaker than Qi Tiansheng. They didn't know that the immaterial finger attack had been created by the Qi clan a very long time ago, and that Lin Feng had created his own attack only a short time before. Bzzz. The atmosphere shook as Qi Tiansheng appeared above Lin Feng and released terrifying energies to oppress Lin Feng. The Qi clan uses empty space abstruse energies, and they're quite good at it, said the purple-eyed Zoom cultivator. Imperial clans had access to incredible resources. They had many abstruse skills and techniques, which they had changed and improved over the centuries. Even other people who controlled empty space abstruse energies couldn't control them, as well as Qi Tiansheng. Space Destructive Punch. Qi Tiansheng's Space Destructive Punch was an attack which used abstruse energies too. One punch could make someone's body explode into pieces. Therefore, Lin Feng had the feeling that his body was breaking apart. However, Lin Feng managed to dodge the attack. He looked confident and at ease while he was moving gracefully like the wind. Qi Tiansheng's attack ended up hitting the stage, and then pieces of stones and dust flew around. Even the extremely solid stage broke under that attack, but the winds regularly fixed and improved their battle stage, so it wasn't a problem. Xiaoyao Agility Technique. You shall recognize the technique. Lin Feng had learnt the Xiaoyao Agility Technique, which belonged to the godly Xiaoyao sect. Boom boom boom. Terrifying explosion sounded as Qi Tiansheng was using an empty space agility technique to match Lin Feng's Xiaoyao Agility Technique. Both of their movements were graceful and agile. Do you only know how to escape or what? Said Qi Tiansheng mockingly. Then he used his space destructive punch again. Qi Tiansheng's empty space abstruse energy was already level 3, so his space destructive punch was terrifyingly powerful. He could easily crush cultivators of the 3 Zun Qi layer with that attack. Lin Feng remained silent and continued dodging using wind abstruse energy with his Xiaoyao Agility Technique, but his eyes looked sharp like an eagle. He was observing Qi Tiansheng and studying every single movement he made. At the same time, he released some threads of his godly awareness to sense Qi Tiansheng's empty space strength. Qi Tiansheng's empty space agility technique was very useful during a battle. If you think dodging every attack is useful, I'll just end the battle as soon as possible, said Qi Tiansheng in a cold way. He disappeared as a broken-looking shadow appeared in the air. Holy Mark's teleportation technique. Mr. Wen sighed and said, now that Qi Tiansheng has broken through to the Zun Qi layer, his attacks are terrifying. He's as talented as Tiange. Lin Feng is in danger. Qi Tiansheng continued releasing qi. He had used lots of energy to use his Holy Mark's teleportation technique, but he was standing in the sky looking proud. He looked down at Lin Feng disdainfully and said, Lin Feng, don't think that because you defeated such a crappy cultivator as Long Tongue, that you can be proud. You still don't qualify to become one of the 10 strongest young cultivators. Die, said Qi Tiansheng coldly. He used his Holy Mark's teleportation technique again to throw himself at Lin Feng. Even if he killed Lin Feng, nobody would care. The elders didn't get involved in young people's affairs after all. In Bahuang province, battles to death were normal. Even if Lin Feng died, it would just prove that he wasn't strong enough. Emperors wouldn't get involved unless their reputations were tarnished. In the worst case, people with better reputations would show up and avenge his death. Qi Tiansheng looked excited, as if he had already killed Lin Feng. Slash! At that moment, sword lights dashed to the skies. Lin Feng looked like a sword now. Desolate explosion, said Lin Feng in a cold way. His sword qi dashed to the skies, and the space around them seemed like it was going to explode. Lin Feng's destructive sword could pierce through anything like it was butter. The Holy Mark's empty space technique kept crackling while bathing in Lin Feng's sword lights. Break! Qi Tiansheng continued releasing empty space abstruse energies to fix his Holy Mark's empty space technique. He was convinced he'd kill Lin Feng soon. Desolate explosion explode! Shouted Lin Feng while raising his head and looking at the sky. His sword energies dashed to the skies again. Thunder laceration! Shouted Lin Feng furiously while rising up in the air. Desolate Ksana. Nirvana Suanya destruction. One sword attack, a second sword attack, holes appeared in the space. The crowd saw that the stage was breaking apart as a silhouette rose up in the air, surrounded by an infinite amount of sword chi. Wind, thunder, fire, empty space, abstruse energies. And there's another kind of abstruse energy, it's kind of destructive. Lin Feng controls at least 5 different types of abstruse energies. Mr. Wen was amazed. That was the first time he looked surprised on that day. Chapter 1237. Demon Curse. The other older Zun cultivators were just as surprised. 5 types of abstruse energies. Were there any other cultivators who knew 5 different types of abstruse energies amongst the 10 strongest young cultivators? So far, those who were part of the 10 strongest young cultivators hadn't used 5 types of abstruse energies. But the other older Zun cultivators now thought they possibly did. After all, when Tiango had hidden the fact that he could control abstruse energies, the others could also hide things. Mr. Wen, do you think he can defeat Qi Tiansheng? Asked the purple-eyed Zun cultivator at that moment. Emperor Shi and Emperor Yu's 11th direct disciple seemed to be an incredible cultivator too. I don't know. Qi Tiansheng hasn't reached his limits yet. I am sure that if Lin Feng had broken through to the Zun Qi layer, he would be able to defeat Qi Tiansheng easily. But right now I'm not sure. Said Mr. Wen indifferently. You wouldn't underestimate Qi Tiansheng. You're ridiculous, said Lin Feng. His sword Qi shot up into the sky. His eyes looked ice-cold and so did his voice. Then he jumped forwards. Qi Tiansheng felt oppressed. Qi clan from the eastern part of Bahuang, imperial clan, Qi Tiansheng, domineering and majestic. In the past nobody knew me, Lin Feng, but I now have broken through to the 8th Tianqi layer, and you are a Zun cultivator. Yet, you dare act proudly and arrogantly in front of me. Don't you think you're a little bit ridiculous? Said Lin Feng. Boom boom. Qi Tiansheng's heart beat even faster as heard Lin Feng. He was one of the 10 strongest cultivators of the province, the genius of the Qi clan. He was a Zun cultivator, and he still hadn't managed to finish their battle. Wasn't that humiliating already? Boom! Lin Feng jumped again, wanting to get near Qi Tiansheng. Wu Tian fought against Wen Tiango and lost. But that wasn't humiliating. They'll fight each other another time. However, if you win against me, you'll have nothing to be proud of. And if you lose, you'll just be endlessly humiliated. Can you imagine, Qi Tiansheng, the genius of the Qi clan, defeated by a cultivator of the Tianqi layer? If I defeat you, you won't even deserve to be called a cultivator anymore, said Lin Feng, as he then threw himself at Qi Tiansheng. His voice was starting to sound a bit like a demon's voice, and demonic energies emerging from Lin Feng's body. Qi Tiansheng's face turned deathly pale. It was as if he had been cursed by a demon. He frowned, wondering what was happening. What's going on? Thought the crowd. Lin Feng seemed like he was in fusion with the earth and sky. And when the crowd heard his voice, they all the impression that they had been cursed by a demon. Mr. Wen's facial expression changed for the second time. He was studying Lin Feng. Qi Tiansheng was one of the 10 strongest young cultivators of the province. He was extremely determined, but because of a few words Lin Feng had said, he looked dispirited and his face had turned deathly pale. Was that possible? Not really. But Lin Feng had used some kind of strength that even Mr. Wen didn't know about. Do you understand what's going on? Asked Mr. Wen to the other older Zun cultivators. They all frowned, as if they had understood that Lin Feng was using a secret technique. All they could tell was that Lin Feng was using some demonic energies, the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, and the Sakyamuni mantra. But at the same time it doesn't seem to be that, could it be? Whispered one of the Zun cultivators. They glanced at each other's, they all looked surprised. A demon curse. Indeed, it was as if Qi Tiansheng had been cursed by a demon. Lin Feng is a beast, said Mr. Wen looking very serious. Using demonic strength, Lin Feng could make people lose their determination. When strong cultivators managed to control such energies properly, they could directly injure their enemies' hearts. That kind of strength was very rare, but it was even harder to make it fuse together with one's voice. It was astonishing that Lin Feng had only broken through to the 8th Tianqi layer, and could make his voice fuse together with those cursing energies. If you lose, you'll just be endlessly humiliated. Can you imagine Qi Tiansheng, the genius of the Qi clan, defeated by a cultivator of the Tianqi layer? That would be such a humiliation. If I defeat you, you won't even deserve to be called a cultivator anymore. Lin Feng's voice was resonating in Qi Tiansheng's heart over and over. Qi Tiansheng, even if you defeat me, a cultivator of the 8th Tianqi layer, you'll have nothing to be proud of. How dare you act arrogantly? From now on, you can't be considered as one of the 10 strongest young cultivators of the province. You're eliminated. Lin Feng's voice was echoing in Qi Tiansheng's head. Lin Feng attracted the force of the earth and sky each time he took a step. Qi Tiansheng felt like he had already lost. He felt like everybody was already making fun of him in the province. His face was becoming paler and paler. Lin Feng was still in the air, and his sword Qi was reaching up to heaven. He looked incredibly aggressive, and his words sounded like the ultimate punishment. "Wake up!" shouted an extremely loud voice at that moment. Qi Tiansheng shook his head and came back to his senses. Lost, Lin Feng sighed and looked down. Someone was protecting Qi Tiansheng, even though he had used powerful incantation abstruse energies. But his 3 lives Buddha demon skills wasn't powerful enough. He had borrowed the force of the earth and sky to influence Qi Tiansheng. If his attack had been more powerful, he would have been able to cripple his cultivation, or even kill him outright. Slash! A fire finger moved towards Qi Tiansheng, piercing through the atmosphere. The crowd was surprised. Immaterial finger? Wasn't it Qi Tiansheng's technique? Qi Tiansheng was also surprised. He also used an immaterial finger attack, and they both collided. Lin Feng moved like the wind, and threw himself at Qi Tiansheng while raising his fist. Space destructive punch. The crowd was dumbfounded. What was going on? Not only could Lin Feng use the immaterial finger attack, but he could also use the space destructive punch. Die! Shouted Qi Tiansheng furiously. He was completely infuriated, out of his mind. A moment before, Lin Feng had made him lose his mind. Boom boom boom. Both their fists collided, and the air around them shook violently. The ground under them exploded. At the same time, desolate strength invaded Qi Tiansheng's fist and body. He had the sensation his body was suddenly decaying. Slash! A sword appeared in Lin Feng's left hand, as it then moved towards Qi Tiansheng. His clothes were suddenly torn to pieces. Qi Tiansheng used his empty space agility technique to move back. However, Lin Feng's eyes turned black at that moment, and he could see everything clearly. He used his Xiao Yao agility technique. Die! Lin Feng punched the air in Qi Tiansheng's direction. It was another space destructive punch. Boom boom! Lin Feng's fist reached Qi Tiansheng, and a huge mark appeared on his body as his face turned deathly pale. But he continued using his empty space agility technique to escape. Desolate Xana, said Lin Feng. Ah! A horrible shriek sounded and blood splashed in the air. One of Qi Tiansheng's legs exploded and blood splashed about. Lin Feng wants to prevent him from using his empty space agility technique, thought the crowd. What a genius! He prevented him from using his empty space agility technique, said Mr. Wen. He was amazed. If Qi Tiansheng tried to use his empty space agility technique again, he'd die. Chapter 1238. Qi dashing to the skies. Even though Qi Tiansheng can use the empty space agility technique, he hasn't mastered it that well. He can't move as quickly as he wishes, said the purple-eyed older Zun cultivator indifferently. If Qi Tiansheng had really mastered the empty space agility technique, he would have been able to run away even faster than Lin Feng. Maybe, but even an ordinary low-level Zun cultivation wouldn't be able to see it that distinctly, And Lin Feng has only broken through to the 8th Tianqi layer," said Mr. Wen smiling. The purple-eyed older Zun cultivator smiled and nodded. Indeed, Lin Feng could see things really clearly. It seemed like his dark eyes helped him see things in a more distinct way. What was that kind of power? The members of the Qi clan were astonished, and they looked nervous. Qi Tiansheng had been injured by Lin Feng. "Brother!" shouted Qi Jiaojiao. Her face was deathly pale. She had always despised Lin Feng. She was convinced that her brother could easily defeat Lin Feng. So she didn't understand how a cultivator of the 8th Tianqi layer could defeat her brother. How did he even understand abstruse energies that well already? How could he defeat Zun cultivators? Behind Qi Jiaojiao, there were some of the Qi clan's guards. They were all clenching their fists and staring at Lin Feng while releasing their own qi. Qi Tiansheng was soaked with blood. Everyone could see his flesh and bones even. If Qi Tiansheng hadn't moved so fast, Lin Feng would have ended this already. "Arg!" Qi Tiansheng shouted furiously like an animal. His blood started boiling, and his legs started growing again. Zun cultivators could use their blood to replace their body parts. He put a pill in his mouth and his leg grew again, even faster. But he was now surrounded by Lin Feng's wind energies. Lin Feng quickly appeared in front of Qi Tiansheng again, and condensed a sword. He couldn't give Qi Tiansheng a second to breath. While his eyes were still black, he used his desolate Xana attack again. Bzz. Qi Tiansheng took out a golden tower. Qi Tiansheng had already used that holy weapon against Lin Feng in Fortune City. But Lin Feng had used his cursing scepter to stop it. Lin Feng's desolate Xana crashed onto the golden tower, and the stage shook violently. The golden tower was propelled backwards. "One of the 10 strongest young cultivators," said Lin Feng mockingly. "You're just a joke." Qi Tiansheng was from the Qi clan, and he had broken through to the Zun Qi layer. He was one of the 10 strongest young cultivators. But when facing Lin Feng, he had needed help from the Qi clan's guards. Now he had to use a holy weapon. How ridiculous. Boom! Lin Feng jumped again, borrowing the strength of the earth and sky. Lin Feng's voice started resonating in his head again. "Qi Tiansheng, Zun Qi layer. You haven't changed at all. Even Long Tongue wasn't weaker than you. It's been a long time since you deserved being considered as one of the 10 strongest cultivators." Lin Feng's demonic voice was resonating in Qi Tiansheng's brain. "Die!" shouted Qi Tiansheng furiously. He interrupted Lin Feng again as his tower moved towards Lin Feng. He wanted to trap Lin Feng inside. "Piss off!" shouted Lin Feng furiously. In a flash, a gigantic sword appeared and crashed onto the tower. Then, it penetrated into it. Once inside, it became even larger, taking up more and more space. Lin Feng took out his bow and knocked out 8 arrows. Halala! Qi Tiansheng's blood boiled. His blood strength rose up as he released empty space energies. Bzz. A golden picture scroll emerged from Qi Tiansheng's body. It looked like an empty space picture scroll. Qi Tiansheng stretched his hand and grabbed it. Then he ran towards Lin Feng holding the picture scroll. That's Qi Tiansheng's last move. He's using the strength of his spirit. What a terrifying empty space energy. No wonder the Qi clan is an imperial clan, thought the crowd. The picture scroll suddenly became gigantic and blotted out the sky. It looked like a gigantic empty space mountain. Empty space energies quickly surrounded Lin Feng. "Capture!" shouted Qi Tiansheng furiously. "I'll show you how strong I became after breaking through to the Zun Qi layer." Die, die, die. Qi Tiansheng's blood was boiling as he released all the empty space energies he could. What a terrifying empty space strength, though Lin Feng frowning. He continued shooting arrows at the picture scroll. Die, shouted Lin Feng furiously. His Tianji sword then came back to him. Roar, roar. Lin Feng's spirit appeared. His 9-headed dragon spirit moved towards the picture scroll, wanting to eat it. However, Qi Tiansheng's spirit was a lot stronger than Lin Feng's. The 9-headed dragon couldn't possibly absorb Qi Tiansheng's spirit. Lin Feng kept attacking Qi Tiansheng's spirit, and Qi Tiansheng's face was paling. Break, break, break. Lin Feng released sword energies which started breaking the empty space picture scroll. Slash. Qi Tiansheng groaned and his face became even paler. Blood splashed out of his mouth. Die! Lin Feng was also bleeding, and his sword qi was being destroyed. Above his head, a gigantic axe appeared. Xian Yuan's spirit. Lin Feng also grabbed his Tianji sword. Then he threw himself at Qi Tiansheng. Slash! Lin Feng's sword moved towards Qi Tiansheng. Xian Yuan's axe fused with Lin Feng's sword energies, and now, his sword seemed like it could destroy anything. Brother! Qi Jiao was terrified when she saw Lin Feng's sword. Her face was deathly pale. At the same time, the Zun cultivators who were behind him all moved towards Qi Tiansheng to save him. Qi Tiansheng's picture scroll was blocking the sword energies, but it was cracking. He used his empty space agility technique in an attempt to escape, but that sword was too fast. Half of his body was cut, and he gave a horrible shriek. The crowd was astonished. Qi Tiansheng had used a holy weapon and his spirit, but as before, he hadn't managed to defeat Lin Feng. With that last attack, his body was cut into two. However, Lin Feng continued running towards him with his sword in hand. Try and dare! Shouted a Zun cultivator from the Qi clan furiously. He used the empty space agility technique to run towards Qi Tiansheng and block Lin Feng. Piss off! Lin Feng released even more sword energies. The Zun cultivators hadn't even arrived, but some of them were still hurt by Lin Feng's sword while others were outright killed by it. Chapter 1239. Kill him. However, Lin Feng didn't manage to kill Qi Tiansheng, and now he was surrounded by cultivators of the Zun Qi layer. The Qi clan is impressive, said Lin Feng mockingly. He glanced at the people who were protecting Qi Tiansheng. Then he looked at Qi Tiansheng and said mockingly, "You were considered the strongest young cultivator of the Qi clan, a beast. But no matter what, from today on, you're just a joke. You need people to protect you, how ridiculous." Lin Feng's mocking tone resonated in Qi Tiansheng's brain, and his heart twitched. "Kill him," said Qi Tiansheng coldly. The crowd was astonished. Qi Tiansheng had lost, and now he wanted people to help him kill Lin Feng. No matter what, Qi Tiansheng couldn't be considered one of the 10 strongest young cultivators of the province anymore. Lin Feng looked at Qiu Yuxian. She was still fighting against by Qiu Luo. Qiu Yuxian was slowly releasing more and more terrifying energies. Lin Feng didn't need to worry about her anymore. Terrifying energies whistled as well as rumbling sounds. His Tianji sword moved towards Qi Tiansheng, as sword qi dashed to the skies once more. Die! The Qi clan's guards threw themselves at Lin Feng. Mr. Wen had said it before, low-level Zun cultivators could all enter the stage. Demon skill, celestial demonic territory, said Lin Feng darkly. The earth and sky trembled as everything became dark, and a dark space appeared. That space contained terrifying demonic energies, and moved towards those cultivators of the Zun Qi layer. A territory, the crowd shivered. Lin Feng was trying to imprison those cultivators in his own territory. Surprisingly, he can create a real territory filled with demonic energies. How terrifying, whispered Mr. Wen. He looked amazed. Lin Feng's attack was remarkable in two ways. First, he could create a territory, and second, he could fill it with demonic energies. It was no wonder that he knew how to curse people too. At that moment, at the foot of the stage, a young man from the celestial land of alchemists looked surprised. His facial muscles were twitching. I heard before that Lin Feng had defeated Baguio in Sword City. He looked amazed. Maybe Lin Feng had learnt those skills in Tiantai. It was very important to know skills, and to understand them well. As a cultivator progressed, their skills would become more powerful too. If a cultivator knew skills, but not well enough, then it was impossible for him to level up. Lin Feng's celestial demon territory and his demon curse were the same. They were skills and techniques learnt from the Three Lives Buddha demon skill set. Usually, only Zun cultivators could practice such skills, but since Lin Feng had become much stronger recently, he had been able to practice them. The celestial demon territory was a territory filled with demonic energies. It was a bit like a small world in which he could imprison his enemies. Once inside, their attacks were weakened. Soul cursing. Lin Feng took out his scepter, and cursing energies invaded the space. He cursed them all and their souls were shaking. They kept wailing and shouting. Slash! Dazzling lights appeared as he took out his empty space robe and moved towards the demonic territory. Blood quickly ensured. Some more low-level Zoom cultivators had died. Annihilate, said Lin Feng. More demonic chi invaded the celestial demonic territory. Once the energies eventually dispersed, the crowd was astonished. There were so many corpses on the stages. From the moment when Lin Feng cast his celestial demon territory spell, and now, only a few minutes have passed. He killed so many Zoom cultivators in such a short time. The crowd was astonished. Their hearts were pounding. Those people were Zoom cultivators from the Qi clan. Even though they were low-level Zoom cultivators, they were extremely strong. How had Lin Feng killed so many of them so quickly? How could they know that Lin Feng's robe contained incredible empty space energies, and that his scepter contained such terrifying cursing energies? Coupled with his Tianji sword, his attacks were impossible to block. Qi Tiansheng was sitting on the edge of the stage healing. His face turned deathly pale. Even though his body had been cut in half, with such a strong blood strength, he was able to grow new body parts again. It wasn't surprising that Zoom cultivators could live hundreds of years and could transmit their strong blood to their descendants. Lin Feng slowly walked towards Qi Tiansheng. His facial expression was ice cold. He looked like a madman. But a cultivator had to be insane to become extremely strong. To become the strongest, cultivators had to eliminate anyone who stood in their way. Do you know who you are facing? Said two cultivators at that moment. They immediately landed on Qi Tiansheng's left and right. They both looked majestic and domineering. They were medium-level Zoom cultivators, in charge of protecting Qi Tiansheng. A pathetic person who calls himself a genius, said Lin Feng. Only low-level Zoom cultivators are allowed on the stage. You broke the rule. Indeed, Mr. Wen had said that only low-level Zoom cultivators could get on the stage. Those two were too strong, but they couldn't let Lin Feng kill Qi Tiansheng. It was also forbidden to kill people and you did, said one of the old men. Are you blind? Said Lin Feng. He's been trying to kill me this entire time, and now you're saying we can't kill each other? You're ridiculous. The two strong cultivators released terrifying energies. If they attacked, Lin Feng would be doomed. He certainly couldn't compete with medium-level Zoom cultivators. Many people looked at Mr. Wen. The old man looked indifferent though. He didn't try to prevent them from doing anything. Mr. Wen can't say that the Qi clan violated the rules, otherwise it'd mean he's on Lin Feng's side. Then they would become the Qi clan's enemies. Everybody was trying to understand the situation. Those young cultivators are incredible. It seems like we got old, said Mr. Wen indifferently before adding, all right, since Lin Feng won, we can stop here. As expected, Mr. Wen had found a solution to the situation. He didn't allow Lin Feng to kill Qi Tiansheng, and he didn't allow the old men to kill Lin Feng. Boom boom. At that moment, an explosion sounded, and the ground was shaking. Such terrifying energies, what's going on? The crowd turned around and saw a terrifying energy emerge from the governmental buildings of the Wen clan. Some people are attacking the Wen clan. The crowd was astonished. It seemed like strong cultivators were fighting in the distance. What's going? Someone is attacking the Wen clan. The crowd was shaking. Horrible shrieks spread in the air. Boom boom boom. She rose up in the air. Mr. Wen's eyes twinkled with ice-cold lights. He gazed into the distance in the direction of the Tiansu teleportation portal. The secret has been revealed? Mr. Wen rose up in the air. Some people were willingly spreading chaos. Qi Tiansheng opened his eyes and looked at Lin Feng in an ice-cold way. Kill him. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support. And don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.